doing this one?
We can pretend that he's here.
He usually does one of these. Have you guys seen him? I haven't seen him recently.
He is afraid of me.
So basically, Darth Dawkins, he left the server a while back because they took away his power in the religion server room, even though he wasn't supposed to have that because it's not a guest room. But he had the Atheist Helpline in the religion room, and when people got mad that he was meeting people in religion room, they removed his power, so he spurged out and left the server. This has been like months ago.
Okay. I didn't know. Thanks for explaining.
No problem, gangsta. But I can be Darth Dawkins. Hey, let me tell you something. The Earth's is only 6,000 years old, and if you believe anything else, you're just a troll. Like, come on now. You're clearly a troll.
He a young Earth creationist?
Yes, he is a young Earth creation.
I know
he's a crazy if there's ever been a crazy.
I'm a young earther. I don't think if the Bible's true, it has to be. It goes by a timeline. For the timeline to be accurate, the Earth would have to be no more than like 6,000 years at the absolute most.
I just can't see that, man. It's just we have so much evidence that the Earth predates way more than 6,000 years.
Oh, you can't prove that. There's no recorded history back that far. You're just assuming off of stuff that could have been totally different.
There is actually
if God really
back then.
There's recorded history. No, there's not. Like the Bible, I mean, there's some older texts in the Bible, but like we're talking about thousands of years ago. There's an actual recorded history much farther than that.
Yeah, there's like Sumerian scripts exist 3,400 BC.
Well, that's still acceptable in the time. That's what 5,000 years. Yeah, that could be. Those could be legitimate. Well, that doesn't prove anything about these millions of billions of years. It would be like taking the Garden of Eden, that's supposed to be a perfect place without death, and putting that on top of a graveyard of millions of billions of animals that died and suffered when the Bible said there wasn't any death before the origin of sin.
Well, there was no.
There's literally like there's still like sectors between Russia and Alaska that prove that there was a bridge made out of ice in that particular area, and that happened about 35,700 years ago. So the fact that people want to like say that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, I mean, you've got to be fucking crazy.
You're still just assuming things based off of assumptions. You can't prove that. So how it actually happened. Maybe things work totally differently.
There's a lot of Native American like scripts, and sometimes they're not even scripts, they're images of like what it was like to cross the land bridge. Like this is something that has been documented by the natives when they came over here.
There's no way you can definitively prove whether that happened or not, or when it happened. I mean, maybe it did happen. I'm not really going to dispute that people maybe crossed a land bridge, but the timeline is what I have an issue with, and they're just making assumptions. There's no way to prove it.
Well, how did the natives get here if the Earth is only 6,000 years old?
I just explained to you. Maybe there was a land bridge, but it doesn't. The people making this claim are wrong on the time frame of when this occurred, and they're getting that based off assumptions on things that can't be proven.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you understand what you mean by proof. So you can't prove you're God, but we don't go based off proof. We go based off evidence. And there's evidence of science stuff when there's zero evidence of God. And so saying you can't prove doesn't mean anything. Like, you can't prove anything other than like I exist, but we don't really care about that. What we care about is what the evidence says.
You're assuming that things happen the same on Earth as they're happening right now. Things could have changed a lot rapidly, and things could have been different with the environment where there's wild changes that you wouldn't think would happen
Well,
under
that's
the current state of the Earth.
well,
But
that's
we
not an
don't know because
assumption.
we weren't there.
Well, it's not an assumption. That's based on the evidence. It seems like you're assuming that some kind of magic changed things so that didn't happen consistently, and there's no evidence of that. Where we have lots of evidence that it's consistent because of predictions that have been made based off of the assumption it's consistent have been proven correct. So it seems like you're the one who's making assumptions about the universe maybe changing the laws of physics without evidence, whereas we have evidence, and so it's not an assumption.
Well, if the Bible is true, it's got to be 100% true, and so it's all or nothing. Are there a lot of things that might make the Earth look old? Yeah, there's plenty of examples of that. But if God is really all powerful and all knowing, couldn't He just make the Earth look old? I think so.
Sure, but magical
But
leprechauns could have created the universe 5 seconds ago. The fact that it could be that way doesn't mean we have evidence it's that way. So there's lots of ways it could be, but unless you have evidence to indicate one of those ways over the other, the fact that we do have evidence for the naturalist worldview makes that one better.
and especially with constant translations from Hebrew to Greek to English, like why are you banking on this idea that everything in the Bible that you've read in the English version is 100% true when there is a lot of words that are in the English version that are not in the Hebrew version? Like there's been multiple mistranslations of the Bible, so the fact that you're like banking on this, if one thing's true, it's all true, like it just doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense.
I believe the doctrine's 100% true. There's a lot of denominations that try to add and take away from that, and they got
Why?
it all wrong. Why?
Yeah. Why
Because
do
it's
you?
supposed to literally be the Word of God, and it's supposed to be a supernatural document that literally um, is immune to all this problems with interpretation through all this time. But but when you try to add on to stuff and take away from it, that's where the problem lies.
Well, why do you believe it's the inerrant word of God? Like I could say Harry Potter was the inerrant word of God, but just saying so isn't evidence it's true. So why do you think it's actually some God-inspired document and not just a book written by goat herders thousands of years ago?
Well, I mean, we have the most documentation of the Bible and it being completely accurately transcribed, way more than any other document by a long shot from that time period. Like, if you believe King Tut was a person that existed and you don't believe in the Bible, then um, it's like you have like a mountain of evidence for the Bible and you have a molehill for that, but people just automatically accept like King Tut's existence as an absolute fact, but
Well,
want to reject the Bible.
I agree King Tut existed and I agree like Jesus existed, but I don't think either one of them had some kind of connection to the gods, whether it was Ra or Yahweh. And so the historical documents, I agree, are evidence that the characters in the stories existed, like the more recent ones, but that's not evidence that they're divine. So why would you think that the number of documents in the historical record would indicate they're divine? And also, we know that there are lots of errors in the copying of the Bible. There's tons and tons of them, but doesn't really bother me.
Well, there's this book called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel.
I have read it.
This guy's oh, good. Well, you know, he was well, you already know, but I'm going to say it for the audience just briefly.
Sure.
So this guy's a lawyer, and he set out to put Jesus on trial as like a mock trial to disprove Christianity, and through the process of doing it, he became a Christian, and he researched all the historical evidence for the existence of Christ and whether he actually did these miracles that the Bible talks about, and and that's how he became a Christian.
Yeah, but when he was writing his book, he didn't actually follow the methodology of the courtroom or historians. He seemed to have made up his own methodology. So, for example, in a courtroom, if somebody brings forth an eyewitness testimony of magic or something, say someone used a magical spell to kill somebody, the courtroom is going to immediately throw that out because testimony of magic, miracles, mythical creature, the paranormal, the supernatural, UFOs isn't accepted in a court of law because we know how bad human personal experience is as a source of evidence. And so in a courtroom, in order to justify those things, you need some kind of an empirical basis, something you can verifiably test to show the magic is real. And then once you can demonstrate the magic is real to the courtroom, then you can accept the testimony. But you could never accept the testimony until you have the demonstration that the magic is real. And so anything that lacks this explicit empirical basis isn't accepted in a courtroom because eyewitness testimony is so fallible. And that's why his case for Christ wouldn't have passed in a courtroom.
Are you a lawyer?
No, I'm a philosopher.
I mean, I don't really think I can dispute that because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how a courtroom case goes. So, I mean, it could be that it wouldn't pass a courtroom test. I don't know. I'm not qualified to determine that. So,
That's
I'm
fair.
not gonna dispute that.
So I've actually done the research on this. I've had a number of debates on this on my YouTube channel. One of them with Jonathan Sheffield, where I actually pulled up the court cases where they went through many different cases of UFOs, magic, God doing things, and they all listed dismissed for the same reason, that there was no precedent, no empirical basis, that you can't justify these things based off of eyewitness testimony. Testimony only works for things that already have precedent, that have already been demonstrated to exist in the past. So like I saw somebody commit a murder, or I saw somebody like walk their dog, but never I saw a unicorn, I saw magic. Those are never accepted. And you can check all the court cases I listed in that debate if you want to verify the things I'm saying. It's the Jonathan Sheffield debate on my YouTube channel.
Nice. I'm gonna take a look.
Cool. See if somebody else has some questions.
I'm gonna head out.
All right.
Bring Lenny up on here. I feel like he's gonna have something interesting to say.
I invited Snowy first, but I'll invite.
All right.
Boom, owned. I'm first. I'm more important than Lenny. Hell yeah.
Yes,
go.
yes, you are the most important person ever.
So true. So true. I agree. But anyways, I'm an atheist too, but I saw your debate with Destiny on objective morality. So you still believe in objective morality?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just, this probably is not a very great question, but like, how do you demonstrate that with any sort of...
You can't. It's a hypothesis. It's a hypothesis. Mm-hmm. So I don't have any proof for it, because if I did, I'd have a Nobel Prize. It's just a hypothesis that I think is true. I think we will discover it in the future, and I make predictions that we will hopefully discover in the future that will confirm my hypothesis.
Wait,
okay, so like
what
kind of evidence would prove, like not just like can you prove objective morality, but like what kind of evidence even would be required to prove objective morality?
Well, any novel testable predictions are evidence of any hypothesis. So you just say, if my hypothesis is true, here's something that we would expect to see in the future that we don't know yet. If we get it right.
So what
some
I'm saying is,
examples would be
Yeah.
like, I would predict that artificial intelligence is going to develop a morality that's going to follow the same patterns of moral intuition and moral progress that we see in the past for humanity, and is going to lead to the same conclusion point that I think is that we're leading to. And I think the same pattern would be discovered in any form of life throughout the universe. That would be, if that is correct, then that would be good evidence that there is some guiding principle causing our moralities to be the same objectively.
so it would just be if other societies that are not human end up developing similar moralities to humans, then that's like evidence to support, not prove necessarily, but to support objective morality, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So like if all or most other intelligent life forms in the universe followed the exact same pattern of moral progress, then that would be evidence that the thing causing that moral progress wasn't just coincidence and that there's some guiding principle there.
Okay, when you say exact, I mean that's a pretty absolutist thing to say. I mean, like, how can you say? I feel like what would happen there is there would be some difference somewhere between the moral codes, and then I could point at that, and you're like, oh well, it's not going to be exact. It doesn't have to be exact, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be exact, but the argument is
okay, right. So then, what does it need to be?
Generally the same, like anything that would increase the p-value for some event that is higher than random chance or something along those lines.
Generally the same?
Yes. So like my model says that any involuntary imposition of will is immoral, and that as we increase in intelligence and resources, we tend to see more impositions of will as unnecessary and immoral. And the further along we get intellectually and the more resources we get, the more of these we will tend to see as immoral. And so any society that we see, the more technologically and intellectually advanced, the more involuntary impositions of will they will see as immoral. And that would be the pattern that we would be looking for. If it's the opposite of that, that would be a defeater from our model.
Okay. I mean, are there any other... I mean, I'll comment on that, I guess, in a second. But, well, actually, I might as well just do it now. Okay, so would it not be more so the case that not just that any involuntary action, but it would be just maybe any involuntary action that is done due to like a lack of evidence? I mean, like, or like a lack of information. So, for instance, like the reason that we don't let children do nearly as much as what adults do is you could probably just say it's just due to a lack of information on their part.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, I mean, like, we don't let so
we don't let children run into the streets.
We restrict things that people want to do, even if they're consenting to it, because they don't know what they're doing exactly.
Right. So I define consent as like adult level intelligence. So children can't consent by definition.
Right. And do you think that adults can consent to something without knowing what they're consenting to, and then should be stopped from being allowed to do that?
Well, no, if you don't know what you're consenting to, then you can't consent to it. So you have to know.
Okay, so then how do you know if you know what you're consenting to exactly?
What?
How do you know if you know what you're consenting to?
Well, say I wanted to eat chocolate ice cream and I consent to eating chocolate ice cream. Anything beyond that I did not want would not be consensual. So getting cancer or something would not be consensual. Eating chocolate ice cream would be consensual in the flavor and whatever. But getting cancer or getting fat would not be consensual. So those would be immoral. So literally just the things you are able to process and consent to without any externalities is the part that's moral.
I hate to
so like the abortion thing. What? Go ahead.
But Lenny is asking if you were recording/streaming this event.
Yes.
All right, there you go, Lenny. There's your answer.
Oh, what a great answer. Great question. Okay.
So one of the good examples is like abortion. Like you can consent to sex without consenting to pregnancy. It's the same kind of a thing where you can consent to the parts of the interaction that you fully understand and want, but not consent to the consequences of the action that are the
Okay,
parts you
so
don't
what
want.
if you do fully understand something, but there's like aspects of it that you like. Let's say, okay, so you fully understand a situation. There's aspects of it that you like, and there's aspects of it that you don't like, and there's nothing that you can do beyond engaging in that situation to get those aspects that you like. And so you do with the thing, but you don't want those negative things, but they happen anyways because that's the only way for like they have to happen in order for you to get the positive thing. It's like,
Well, that part's not
are you
actually
still
true.
consenting,
So,
or are you not consenting? Because like you still don't want those things to happen, but you know they're going to happen anyways if you do X.
so it's not the case that those necessarily happen to happen. So it's logically possible to say eat 100 pounds of chocolate ice cream and not gain weight. There's no logical contradiction in that statement, and so it's logically.
Well, no, I'm just
possible.
saying if there was, I'm not going to give any specific example because, like, I mean, the thing that you think would be the most moral society is like libertarian free will, literally be able to do whatever you want, and that's not like a physically possible thing.
Why wouldn't that be physically possible?
Okay, so it's physically possible. Why would a completely libertarian free will society in which everyone is always able to do whatever they want not be physically possible? In the same way that like being all powerful is like in and of itself not possible. Right? I mean, like, unless you think that being all powerful is possible, like logically.
Well, right.
possible.
So, but this isn't claiming you are all powerful. The definition
What
of
if I want to?
morality. Well, the definition of morality gave is no involuntary imposition of will, and so that means you can do whatever you want with yourself and your universe, but you can't do anything to anybody else without their consent.
And no involuntary imposition of will.
Yeah,
but it's like, I mean,
that doesn't mean you get anything you want. That means you get anything you want only regarding yourself and your property. So it doesn't apply to other beings. And so if you imagine everybody got their own universe and they got to do whatever they want with it, that would achieve this principle that I've put forth. And it's perfectly logically possible. There's no contradictions there.
Without any other being. Okay, so let's say that like I have my little universe, and then within that universe, I take some inorganic material and I form it into organic material, and then I form that into some conscious being.
And it would immediately get its own universe, and you would
immediately get its own universe.
Yeah.
At like what? Like at the expense of my universe?
No, it'd just be like magically teleported to its own universe space. Like
magically teleported. So it would be impossible for me to ever populate my universe with other conscious beings if they didn't want to be there.
Yes, you would be unable to force any conscious agent to do anything they did not consent to doing. So, yes, it would be impossible for you to force conscious agents into your universe. They could consent to entering, and that would be fine, but you couldn't force them to.
Well, I don't necessarily know if I mean, they can't consent to being created.
Well, that doesn't matter. So, an involuntary imposition of will is once you are conscious, you don't want something. But becoming conscious, if you weren't conscious prior to that, you don't not consent to it. So it wouldn't be immoral to create someone. I'm not an antinatalist. It would only be immoral to create someone and then force them into subservience to your universe or whatever.
Do you think we can know what it's like to not exist?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Sure.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I can know, for example, that I did not exist at some point. I don't have memories like before I was born. I can use that as an analogy to imagine what it's like to not exist. So it's potentially possible to know what it's like to not exist. Sure. Unless you mean like, can you literally have the direct experience of not existing? Like, no, that would be a contradiction.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of. So yeah, I would say no. So then, if you were to, so then at that point, if you don't fully know and you don't fully comprehend what it is to not exist, I mean, you can't consent to not existing, right? By your what you consider to be like.
Well, I'm not sure what your argument is there, because I fully comprehend what it is to not exist.
No, I understand that. So it's like then you would say, I assume you would say like that suicide is immoral, right?
No.
Oh, well, right. Okay, so then by that,
like you don't need 100% full exact experiential understanding of a thing to consent to it. Like I can consent to eating vanilla ice cream even if I've only tasted chocolate, because I get the general idea. I can use my current knowledge of the chocolate and then infer what the vanilla is like without having 100% knowledge of the vanilla and consent to the vanilla. You can consent to things you don't know about as long as you acknowledge that you don't know about them and say, I'm going to consent anyway.
Okay. Whoa. Well, hold on now. So that's well, that's slightly contradictory to what you said earlier, though. It's like you can
No,
consent to a lot. There's a lot of things that you can consent to that you don't fully know about, but you think you know at least part about it,
well, no, you need
right?
to be aware that you don't know about it and then consent
No,
even
no,
though
I
you
no,
know
I
you don't know about
understand.
it.
Like you can be aware that there's a. I mean, I'm aware that I don't know 100% about basically anything, right?
Sure.
But there are still things where I would consent to them because I had maybe some sort of either what I did know about them was not enough to dissuade me, or I what I did know about it was actually mistaken in some way. But it's like, what's the
It's up to
like
you.
threshold, I guess.
It's up to you. Your tolerance for what you think is the acceptable risk, you get to decide for yourself. So for each individual can set a different tolerance level.
Okay, well, so well, that's the other thing. So like, then it just comes back down to, is there anything that well, so then you can absolutely consent to something fully without knowing what it is, and through that inadvertently
Well, so there's
basically
lying
kill
wouldn't be
yourself,
possible. So like
essentially.
if I said I want you to enter my universe and you get lollipops and gumdrops, but instead I'm like Hitler or something and get the Jews in, that wouldn't be possible. Like you couldn't falsely give someone information that they would consent to and then have them bound by some extra obligatory laws that they didn't consent to. That wouldn't be possible. Well, you could say, I have a universe. I'm not going to tell you what's in it. Would you like to join it? And it may be just torturous for you. And if they consent to that, knowing full well they have no idea what it's like, that's possible. So if they are aware they don't know everything about it and are willing to accept the consequences, any individual could consent to that. But I couldn't lie to them and tell them false constraints and then have them consent and then be bound by that acceptance. That would not be consent.
Okay, I mean I mean they couldn't be bound by any consent though, right?
Sure, they could. Like they can their own. Like if I said I want to limit my power, say, and I consent to limiting my own power, then yeah, you could do that. So if you consent to
Do you consider lying through omission to be lying?
sort of like you wouldn't be able to do that in this case, that would also be lying.
Well, so then it just comes down to, is there any information that's being withheld from them that if they were to know it, they would not consent any further?
Yeah.
And then they don't know whether or not that information is even there.
Yeah, but they don't need to. This is like a law of the universe kind of thing. So if that information existed,
It's a
that
law
there
of the
is,
universe.
yeah.
So it's impossible for you to consent to something that, were you to know more information, you would cease to consent.
It would be impossible for you to be bound by that consent. So like if I said you can enter my
What
universe,
if you wanted it to be possible to be bound by that?
yeah. So like if I said you can enter my universe and you can leave at any time, but say that was a lie or something, or I admitted the fact that you couldn't leave, you wouldn't be bound by that. You'd be able to leave. If I told you you could enter my universe, but you could never leave, and you consented to that, then you would be bound by that if you chose to limit your own freedoms in that way.
Okay, so but if I consent to be bound by something, but I consent under incomplete information.
I already addressed that. Can't happen.
You said it could actually.
No. If you consented to not having complete information and accepted the consequences of that, that's fine. But if you don't, then it won't happen.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, so then let's say that I consent. I consent. I recognize that I have incomplete information. There, and because I recognize I have incomplete information, there happens to be something within that field of information that I don't have, that if I did know it, I would no longer consent to the situation. But because I know that I don't have that information, even though I don't know that that information is even there, I don't even know that it exists.
That's what it is. You can just say, if there is such a thing, then I do not hold my consent to be valid. Problem solved. It's very, very easy. None of this is a serious problem. This is all just basic questions. Like I can just put a rule in to myself that if there is something I wouldn't consent to if I was all knowledge, if I had omniscience, then I'm not bound by that consent. Problem solved.
I mean, so is there ever a situation that you can get yourself in where you consensually enter into a situation in which you are no longer allowed to withdraw consent?
Yes, if you literally just say, "I would like to be your slave," and voluntarily give up all your rights, you can do that. You consensually
Okay,
give
and
up
then
all your rights.
what if after that you decide, actually, I don't want to be your slave anymore? Like, are you just fucked?
It's your consciousness. You get to decide to do whatever you want with it. So if you decide to give up all your rights, that's your choice.
Right, but then you can't like regain your rights,
Up to
even though you're
you.
a conscious being.
If you decided that you could never give up your rights, that's your choice. Or you could say, "I will be able to reinstate my rights after X years." That's all up to you.
Right, but that's all up to you. That's all up to you at the moment you make the decision, right? You
Sure.
can't like.
Or you can set it up to be any way you want. You can have time go backwards if
No,
you want.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, so let's say that I give up all my rights, and I say at the moment, like, look, I'm willing to give up all my rights, and I'm willing to do it even if I change my mind. I'm willing to have it be that way, even if I change my mind later. And then
That's
later
your
I change
choice.
my mind.
That's your
Yeah, I
choice.
understand that. And then later I change my mind. I was like, actually, I don't like this situation anymore. So I ceased to consent. But because I gave it all up like 5 minutes ago, I can't do anything about it now, right?
If you designed it that way, then it's your choice.
No, it was my choice. It's no longer my choice.
No, so you get to determine how your consequences apply to the future, or you could say they don't apply to the future. So if you want to make it so that your decisions don't carry into the future, you do so. It's all up to you. This is very, very basic. There's no problem here. It's not even a
You keep
contradiction.
saying that, but I'm not.
Like if you want to be a slave or you choose to be a slave
One of
and
us
you
is
want
not
to,
understanding the other, I think.
no, I fully understand you. Like this problem has been solved. This is not an issue. Like if you want to voluntarily restrict all of your rights and freedoms forever, and then you want to and make it so that you can't change your mind, you have the right to do that to yourself and your property. I can't
Right.
stop you.
And then I do that, and then after I do that, I change my mind.
If you have
But
defined
because I set it up
consent
in that
to
way,
you, if you have defined consent to you to mean that way, then yeah, you're fucked. If you've made yourself that screwed up that way, then yes, you're fucked. You have consented to that. So don't
so
do
then
it.
you can consent to being put into a situation in which you don't
No,
consent.
no.
Just, oh my god, you just
No. If you consent to giving up all of your rights to the future, then you have consented to it.
yeah, and then you stop consenting.
If you decide that, if you define consent in such a way that applies eternally in the future, which you have the right to do, then no, you fully consented to all the things that happen to you forever. But don't do that. It's very simple. Like no one would ever do that. So it's not a serious problem.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you live for like 1,000,000 years, you might do that just to see what happens. But
No. No.
I don't know. I mean, you might. I mean, people do crazy shit all the time. But the point is that you're consenting to a situation in which you can, once you do that, you can stop. Like you can be put into another situation in which you didn't consent.
No, if you've consented to that exact situation to never being able to revoke consent, then you've literally consented to that. So this is not an issue. It's very, very
Except
basic.
you consented to it when you had
So
that
if I
incomplete information.
consent to all future states of my non-consensual actions, that's you consented. You've given consent to all of those things already. This is very basic. I've already answered this like 10 times. If you consent,
But I didn't know.
that,
I didn't know that you were going to do those actions.
no, then you could just apply that rule, like I said before. If there is something I don't know about in the future that I wouldn't consent to, then just have it not be the case. So like, again, very, very basic. This is not an issue. I've already answered it like 1,000,000 times.
Like I disagree, but I think I think because you've said that you can't consent to a situation in which you do not consent, and then you say that you can consent to a situation in which you do not consent.
No, that's not what it's not at all. So you can choose to consent to things that you don't have full knowledge of, or you can choose to not do that. Say only consent to things you have full knowledge of.
Right. You
Your
can,
choice.
yeah, exactly. You can, yeah. So you can choose to consent to things that you do not have full knowledge of.
If you want.
And within the realm of things that you do not have full knowledge of, there's quite possibly something that if you did have knowledge of it, you would no longer consent.
Right. So then just add a rule. It says if there's something in this that I don't know about that I wouldn't consent to.
No, I understand that, like the individual, but I'm saying is like at some point you not consent yourself into a situation that's immoral.
No.
I'm saying that you can, even by your own rules. You absolutely can
No, I've
consent
already proven
yourself
it
into a
false.
situation that's immoral.
No,
I think an example of like what he's trying to say is like consenting to something you don't have full knowledge of, like signing a contract without fully reading it, something along those lines.
right, but I already addressed that. So no, that cannot happen unless you literally make yourself ignorant of the stipulations of the contract and then consent to it, given your ignorance, which would just make you a moron. So no.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more morally justifiable to do bad things to morons then.
No, because again,
Well, it is if they consent to it without realizing what they're consenting to.
then it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Wouldn't be so. Yeah. So it's morally justifiable to do bad things.
No,
to do
I've already addressed
do
this. If I
negative
consent
things.
to be a slave or whatever to a Christian God, and the Christian God then does whatever he does to people, that's perfectly consensual. That's not immoral because it was consensual. I've already addressed this. You've asked and answered 10 times. Move on.
Well, I mean, you keep saying that.
I've completely addressed everything you said, fully and completely. Like the fact that you don't understand is your issue.
I
don't care if you disagree. Like it's been answered. You have been fully answered completely. Deductively, here is the complete system. You've been answered. There is nothing left for you to ask. I'm just repeating the same things over and over again. You can consent to whatever you want, good or bad, ignorant or not ignorant. As long as you have the capability to decide for yourself, that's it. That's all you need. You're done. Next
right.
question.
I
don't care. I've already debunked it. You don't get an opinion on it. Next question.
Okay. Yeah. You can go ahead and go to the next guy, I guess.
Okay. Anybody else?
All
Questions?
right.
God stuff?
Have a good one, though.
You too.
Okay. Awesome. Cool.
I know Lenny wanted to come up here earlier. I don't know if he still wants to, because I think he doesn't want to be recorded or something.
That's fine. Does he have like a voice modulator, making fake voice sounds? Or second account or something?
Lenny is putting in the text chat something. I don't know. Oh, never mind. He stopped typing. You wanna bring a Darwin up here? He might have some questions.
Oh, Wee has his hand up.
All right.
Hi.
So is this for atheists to talk, or is it for religious people to ask questions?
Either one. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm a Muslim,
Okay.
and people keep bringing up contradictions, and I don't think they're true, because there's a lot of people who refute it. So it's not true. So it's still the word of God. It's the truth.
That's called reading into the text what you want it to say.
Yeah, I did.
No. So in apologetics, when you read a text like the Quran or the Hadiths or the New Testament or the Old Testament, you can read them as for what they say, like read them literally, or you can try to interpret them to make them fit your worldview. One of them is letting the text say what it actually says, and one of them is just called making stuff up. So if you just read the text,
give me examples of this?
Sure. So like you can
like stuff that is not refuted.
Not refuted. Like I don't know enough about the Quran. You can just Google contradictions in the Quran. There are tons of them.
Yeah, I did that, and there's all of them are refuted.
Well, no, none of them are refuted. So Islam is universally accepted as false. Like it's all wrong. Every academic says it's wrong. It's not even taken seriously. But you can take phrases and interpret them to make them fit your worldview, just like young Earth creationists take phrases in the Bible to make it fit their worldview. It's not true. The text doesn't say that. The text does have contradictions. You're just using the ambiguity of language to try to make it fit your worldview, to try and make it not be a contradiction.
No, it's because Arabic is a perfect language.
It's not. There are actually tons of problems with the Quran. Like the moon didn't split in half.
Also, there's a lot of interpretations because it's translated into different languages. And Arabic is, if you read Arabic, it will make sense.
No, it doesn't. I've read it in Arabic. It doesn't make any more sense. It's still gibberish. The moon did not.
You read Arabic.
Wait.
You can read Arabic.
The moon did not split in half. Birds did not dive.
Yeah, I did.
No,
NASA found a crack in the moon. So that's
there
evidence.
are lots of cracks in the moon. It doesn't go all the way through, and it did not split in half.
I don't know about you, but I trust NASA.
Well, NASA says the Quran is wrong. NASA emphatically says the moon did not split in half. Like every one of them. You can just Google, does NASA say the moon was split in half? They say no, every one of them.
Okay, you know what? I'll just admit it. I'm an atheist. I was just joking around.
That's okay. Anybody else? Oh, we got Isan. What's up?
I was about to say he's had his hand up since the start of this. He just kept leaving and joining back.
It's okay. Are you there, Isan?
Hey, hello.
Hey.
Sorry, I'm traveling, so there will be a little bit of background noise. If that's okay.
No problem.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you a question, like something that we were talking about in the chat is like, so you agree to consensual necrophilia, right?
Yep. So, like, if I
Oh.
die, I can give my body to somebody and say, you can do whatever you want with it, and that's not immoral.
Right. Okay. So I mean, this is one big problem with a big difference with religion and atheistic sort of view. That in religion we believe we have soul, right?
Yep.
And
Well, is your soul in your body?
Yeah, like even from a, let's say, a naturalistic sort of view, it's like a life form is sort of a consciousness that can build itself a self-managing biological vehicle. We can call that soul, even though the religious interpretation would be much deeper than that. But anyway, so last time I discussed with you, I couldn't even discuss the empirical part of the sort of evidence for God, and I only gave the basic argument that we are all. I mean, there are many scientists and cognitive scientists, neurobiologists, and so on, who in their science literature talked about how people have an innate receptivity to believe in God, like a natural disposition to believe in God, because that's how it is for us, all of us.
Wait. So why do you think that people having a natural disposition makes it more likely to be true? People have a natural disposition to believe in thousands of fallacies, biases, illusions, delusions, misconceptions. We have names for them: anchoring bias, appeals to authority, appeals to majority, appeals to emotion, appeals to consequence.
Yeah, but that's not what the scientist is. I'm sorry again. There's too much. Yeah. So that's not what the scientists just discussed. They're not saying we have natural inclination for something like rape or something. It's only a few things, only some 4 or 5 things. Like for example, one other.
Wait. So just to clarify, scientists say there are tens of thousands of things that are natural predispositions of humans. It's like part of our biology. Type 1 and type 2 errors are one of the common ones. These are things that were beneficial for evolution that are completely false. And religion, this natural proclivity to believe in God, is one of these things. It's no different than any of the other fallacies, biases, illusions, delusions. This has nothing to do with rape or particular examples. It's just biases the human brain has for certain kinds of facts which are false, provably false. So like anchoring bias, if you can use numbers and weight things and say bigger numbers before saying smaller numbers, and it makes people feel like the smaller number is more significant than it is, or less significant depending on how you frame the numbers. Or loss aversion bias, if you invest a lot of money, you're more likely to invest more money because humans have a tendency to try to invest more to try to prevent loss, even though it's the exact same as if you didn't invest any. So there are lots of things the human brain does which we know are false. The fact that we have this proclivity.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, but that's not really what I'm talking about. Like what I'm talking about are some things that are biologically rooted in us as humans.
Well, that's what I was
This is
talking about
what the
too. All of
scientists.
those things are biologically rooted us in
You're
humans,
talking about the biases.
but those are also
That's a different area.
biologically rooted in us in humans. Those are the same.
Yeah, but like it's not something that we're predisposed to, like in the natural sort of what's it called, the innate disposition. Like there are only a few things, 4 or 5 things
Well, no,
that
no, no.
the
That
scientists.
that part's wrong. There are thousands and thousands of things that are natural predispositions from biology. Tens of thousands. Biases.
Those are like some tendencies, right?
What,
But that's not the same
what
thing
do you
as, for
think is the
example, the.
difference? Because those in all philosophy and all of science and all biology, they're the exact same. The tendency to be religious, the tendency to believe in type 1 and type 2 errors, those are the exact same. Hyperactive agency detection system, exact same. Anchoring bias, exact same. So what do you think the difference is?
Well, I don't remember exactly, but there's a categorical error we're making here. But the main point was that, like for example, so the one other one I keep trying to mention is example, we have this sort of disposition for pair bonding, which is also found in some animals, not all animals, but a lot of animals, right? So I'm trying to make again, the basic argument I gave last time was that if we are naturally inclined to believe in God, then that makes it justified to believe in God from a pragmatic point of view, because as long as there isn't a sort of some reason as to why we should we should undermine the natural inclination, and then there's the question about how is this even possible in
Wait. So go back.
reality?
I want to address the first point. I want to address the first point you said there first. So, first thing is we aren't dispositioned towards pair bonding. That's actually a recent social development. Humans have not been like that for the vast majority of human history. So that's false. The disposition to believe in God is literally a hyperactive agency detection system. It's literally the bias that we see type 1 and type 2 errors, where if you hear a rustle in the bushes and you think it's a lion, you always run away. If you hear a rustle in the bushes and you're good scientific minded and say, I'm going to wait for more evidence, you get eaten by the lion. And so humans have a disposition to always say, there's a lion in the bushes, there's a monster under the bed, be afraid of the dark. Um, the volcano was caused by a volcano god. Humans have a disposition to always see agency in everything, which is one of the fallacies that is a product of evolution, which we know is false. And belief in God is the exact same thing. Secondly, the defeater argument that we are justified in believing things until the defeaters are provided, that's also false. We already have defeaters. Like if we know that humans have evolutionary dispositions, tens of thousands of them that are definitively false, then simply saying that we have a disposition is not evidence it's true. It's more evidence it's false, because we know that we have lots of false dispositions. So both of those things you said are incorrect.
Okay, I really I don't know what to say. So like you're saying this is not something that is biologically rooted in us, and
No, it
there
is.
are
It is. I
hundreds
fully agree there. But it's biologically rooted in the exact same fallacies and biases that are also biologically rooted. So it's no different than any of the other things.
Well, again, I said that the scientists would disagree with you on there.
Well, no,
But
I know all of the scientists. I've had them on my channel. You can. Julian Mussolino is a
does, for
neuroscientist.
example, someone like Justin Barrett or
Justin Barrett isn't a scientist.
I don't know, Oliver Petrovich, Ian Renzian, and like the Oxford Anthropological Society. All
No,
these
so
people,
I know
they
the
didn't
consensus
mention.
of experts. The consensus of experts is that belief in God is a disposition that is a result of type 1 and type 2 errors. That is the consensus among scholars in every academic field. So for every one scholar you can list who disagree, I can list about 1,000.
No, I don't think you can. But that being
No,
said,
you can check the consensus.
about,
You can check the polls. The
wait,
consensus
hold on,
literally shows that no, the position you're talking about is a minority crackpot position that is not supported by the evidence. Like you can find the polls on this. This is very, very common. This is very easy to find. Is the fact that religion is a disposition in humans a result of magic, or is it one of the thousands of biases and fallacies that we know about? Like everybody in the field agrees it's literally type 1 and type 2 errors. It's literally what it is.
Yeah, like I mean, for example, in your debate with Daniel Hakikaji, you said that pragmatism is actually not a moral theory. It's more like what? What was it you
Pragmatism
said?
isn't a moral theory.
Sorry, not pragmatism. Utilitarianism.
Utilitarianism,
It is
utilitarianism
actually,
is not a moral realist position.
yeah, and all the academics agree with you there, right?
Utilitarianism is a pragmatic position, not a moral realist position.
Yeah, and all the like scientists, we all agree with you that the QF, it always existed even before there was a universe.
Most physicists do, yes.
The quantum fields.
Yes, that's the consensus in physics.
Right. I thought it's the like the universe. The laws of physics that determined the like the QF and like.
Well, no, the
like
laws
matter
of
is
physics
just one
are a
aspect.
result of the quantum field. So the quantum fields are the things that created the laws of physics. The laws of physics don't just exist.
Oh, okay. So, like, yeah, okay. And all the scientists agree with you there. All right.
Yeah, you can find the poll on it.
Anyway,
It's called A Snapshot of Foundational Attitudes for Quantum Mechanics by Schlosshauser. There are literally polls on this, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just like take your words for it.
Well, don't take my word for it. Google it. Google a snapshot of foundational
Listen,
attitudes in quantum mechanics.
Just Google it, right? Okay, just Google it.
If I list a publicly available poll and you can Google the title of the poll to find it yourself, yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I just hope that your fans, like whoever it is that follow you, should actually check this out.
Yeah, I've posted it and showed it on my stream. You can literally find it. They have done this, so my site actually does do the research. Yes.
Okay, I wanna discuss that a little bit later, but before that, there's this other part about you asked. Okay, we have more other sort of what's it called, like uh, intuition for other things. So like for example, science, logic, empiricism, and so on.
No, none of those.
So
those
how do
aren't
you
intuitions.
prioritize? How can on what basis can you prioritize?
The ones that we can demonstrate correspond to
them?
reality and the ones that we don't. So like math and science and logic you can use those to make novel predictions about the future, about things we don't know yet, and get them right. Whereas the biases that are wrong make predictions about the future and get them wrong. So that's how we tell which ones are right and which ones are wrong.
So it's like sort of natural selection?
No, it's novel prediction.
No, I said natural selection.
Right, it is not natural selection. Natural selection is not how we do it. We do use novel prediction.
Then so again, and then like if you are going to accept. Oh, okay, all right, but then in that case, why isn't the belief in God also prioritized the same?
Because all of the novel predictions for God-based belief fail. That's why.
Like what?
Like every novel prediction made by any religion or God ever, like they're all wrong. Like the only successful models that make novel predictions are science. What?
Anyway, looks like this is not going anywhere. I was going to ask you, like, I mean, again, from a theistic point of view, the argument I was trying to make is that God is just as real from a theistic point of view, because I mean, this is the basic argument, right? Because why there are so many religions, why there are so many people believe in God, because we are naturally inclined to believe in God. And I was saying that this would be justified as long as there isn't a sound reason as to why we should undermine the natural inclination. But then the point again is,
well, there is a defeater for that. It's type 1 and type 2 errors. Type 1 and type 2 errors are the defeater for that position.
No, it's not. I know about some things about type 1 and type 2 error, but it doesn't justify anything about why we should undermine the natural inclination.
It literally does that. So, like, if we hear a rustle in the bushes...
It shows that there is a natural inclination.
Let me try to explain this to you. So, if we hear a rustle in the bushes, we as humans tend to think it's some kind of a conscious thing like a lion or a ghost or a spirit because of evolution. If somebody thinks that there's a lion in the bushes, they will run away. If someone does not think there's a lion in the bushes and they're very science-minded and want to wait for more evidence, then they don't run away. And the people who run away 100% of the time survive 100% of the time. The people who don't run away die like 10% of the time because 10% of the time it's a lion. And so
Yeah,
we as
so I would
humans...
disagree with you there.
What?
I would disagree with you there, and
About
so
what?
would Alex Rosenberg, right? Alex
No, he
Rosenberg.
agrees with this. What do you disagree
No,
with?
he doesn't. He
No, he
doesn't.
definitely
would say
does.
very explicitly. Listen. He would say very explicitly, very clearly that rationality is not needed for survival. Like you can actually be completely superstitious and survive in a jungle or something.
So that's
thinking that
that's
there
agreeing
is
with me.
a man eating
That's
beer.
agreeing. So Alex Rosenberg 100% agrees with me, because what I'm saying is that if you're 100% superstitious, you believe in ghosts or lions or whatever, you will run away from the rustle in the bushes. If you do not believe in superstition, if you're science, no superstition, you will die. So what I'm saying is if you have a superstitious belief,
You don't necessarily die.
it's like 10% of the time it's more likely to die if you don't run away from the rustle in the bushes. So I agree that if you are superstitious, you're more likely to survive. If you are not superstitious, you are less likely to survive. And so this is proven. This has been proven in evolution. Type 1 and type 2 errors. This is proven.
I don't think there's a percentage as to how much you will survive.
This is proven. This has been proven. Type 1, type 2 errors.
All it proves is that rationality is not even actually needed.
No one said it was. No one said it was. It's
that's
not an argument.
So this is why my question to how you can prioritize the other things instead of God belief.
I already answered that question.
Makes sense.
So I already answered that question. We can use novel testable predictions to tell which hypotheses are correct and which hypotheses are not correct. If you can predict the future about things we don't know yet and get it right, that's evidence of your hypothesis. And so we can say the ones that can do that consistently are the good ones, and the ones that can't are the bad ones. Your hypothesis, the first thing you brought up about us having a natural inclination to be religious, is a fallacy. It's type 1 and type 2 errors. It is proven wrong. It has a defeater. No one accepts that. It is garbage. You don't need rationality to survive. No one cares about that. What we care about is which models can accurately predict the future. That's how we differentiate between the two. So yes, we do have a natural disposition to believe in gods. We know that's a fallacy that lots of humans have, just like all the other fallacies. So no, it is not justified because it has a defeater, which is literally type 1 and type 2 errors. That has nothing to do with the topic of whether or not you need rationality to survive.
Claiming that there is a defeater to this, but I don't think anyone actually agrees with you there, because
every scientist agrees with you there.
Religion helped us survive.
Yes.
Also in so many. Yes, it does. So
I agree.
So
I agree. It does.
Like,
it doesn't make it true.
Yeah. So in what basis are they true or false? Like again, if you say
truth
predictions,
is correspondence to reality. It has nothing to do with survival.
Religion makes lots of predictions which came true. For example, we as Muslims, we have to stay clean, right?
What?
We have to wash our hands and feet like 5 times a day. And before there was germ theory. There was any theory about anything.
We stole that from the Greeks, so that's not a prediction. That's a post-diction.
Well, that is sort of a prediction.
Prediction. A novel prediction is predicting something that nobody knows yet and getting it right. Stealing the idea of washing your hands from the Greeks is not predicting anything.
Yeah. It's predicting sort of survivability.
What does the word prediction mean?
Prediction means like something explain it for me. Like, what do you mean by it? Like, what was the point?
Prediction is to be able to say something that's going to happen before anybody knows it's going to happen.
So in that case, religion has this sort of practices which help us survive, and
that's not a prediction.
In that
practices that help us survive is not a prediction.
A prediction
is like saying that there will be a tetrapod that is halfway between a fish and a lizard at exactly this geological scale and exactly this location. And that was found by evolution. It's called tiktaalik. That's a prediction. A prediction is like saying that the comet Apophis is going to come across every 2,000 years and get it right. That's a prediction that science made. A prediction is saying that the curvature of light around the sun is going to be exactly this degree because of general relativity. Then they checked it and, hey, Einstein was right. That's a prediction. It's predicting facts about the universe that we don't know yet and getting it right. That's a prediction.
So how about predictions like, for example, we have in the Quran that the visible universe began to exist?
It does not say that.
Sorry, what?
It doesn't say that. Like, that's not a prediction.
It does. It literally talks about the beginning of universe. That God created it.
Yes, and
there are hundreds of many more predictions.
well, that's
like,
not a
for
prediction.
example,
Like you have two options.
Life requires.
So like
Well,
there's either everything began to exist.
The way you defined it, I just gave.
No. So a prediction is.
Anyway,
like,
I don't think this is going anywhere. To
that's
be
fine.
honest,
That's
because,
fine.
like,
So I need
shush. Making up.
So
making up.
yours
one,
is not a
type
prediction.
two,
Yours is not a
error
prediction.
refused, natural.
So a prediction is something specific.
He left.
No, I moved him to the audience because he wouldn't shut up. So a prediction is
Right.
the ability to know something we don't know yet before we know it. And saying that the universe began tells us nothing, because guess what? God still existed. So the universe as an everything did not have a beginning in theism because God still existed. And in physics, the same thing is true. Our universe having a beginning is not everything having a beginning. There is a quantum field before the universe. Nobody thinks that literally everything began at the Big Bang. So the consensus in physics is that all natural world did not begin to exist. There is no evidence of that. Our universe, the local universe, began to exist. There's no evidence that everything in the universe, everything like natural world, began to exist. It's not a thing. So it did not. The Bible did not predict that at all. No holy book did. All right, who's next?
Trinity wants to come up. Yo, Trinity, you gonna accept it? There you go.
Right.
Hi. So I was just curious earlier because I joined and you were discussing consent.
Yeah.
And so you said that dead people can consent as long as they consented prior to death, right?
Sure.
And that raises the question that once you also said once you enter an agreement that requires your consent, no matter what happens afterwards, since you gave your consent once, you continuously give your consent.
If you agreed to that situation.
Okay, and what situation, like, could you give me an example of that?
Well, like if I said I will give up my consent and be your slave for eternity or whatever, and then I can't revoke my consent, and I wrote that into the agreement myself, then that would be me consensually giving up my ability to change my consent status.
Okay, what do you believe that there's any like barriers or boundaries for consent?
Whichever ones that you establish.
No, I mean, do you believe that there are people and things who can't give their consent?
Oh yeah, sure. Kids can't consent. If you don't have intellectual, like people who have mental handicaps can't consent. Animals can't consent. So yeah, in order to consent, you need a certain level of intellectual development and maturity.
Okay, so in order to consent, you have to be aware of the situation and you have to be able to sorry about that. Hold on one second.
Also, while she's
Sorry about that.
oh no, never mind.
No, you can go ahead if you have something to say.
I just wanted to ask you, TJump. Wow, after she's done speaking of Lenny saying he wants me to speak on his behalf, but he still wants to come up here.
Oh, that doesn't make sense, but okay.
Just want to let you know.
So essentially, the rules for consent is you have to be conscious of the decision that you're making, and you have to be within the means to make that decision, right?
Sure, it sounds good.
And also earlier, you were talking about just death in itself. And I noticed that you mentioned that it's not an absolute. So I was just curious about how a dead person can consent, even though they consented prior to death, but as they're not they how.
Property rights. So like I can consent to give you my trading cards, whatever. My body is like my trading cards. It's my property. And after I die, or even before I die, say I could like transfer my consciousness out. I could then give you my body to do whatever you wanted to, just like I could give you a shoe or whatever. It's like it's a property right thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
All right, so Lenny wants basically he doesn't want to speak because you're streaming.
He just
but
wants his
he
face to be on
text
the.
it. He wants to text it, and he's gonna have me read it.
Okay.
This is gonna be interesting. Lenny, are you gonna text in my DMs or in the chat? Oh, he says Allah is proof of God.
So God is God. It's a little circular, I think.
He says a circular question mark.
Allah is the name of God. And so like if I said X is proof of X, what does that tell you about X? Does that show X exists? Well, no. Circular reasoning, begging the question fallacy, is having your conclusion be in one of your premises of the argument. And so if you say God proves God or Allah proves God, you could say that about anything and it would never be evidence because it's circular reasoning.
Lenny says circular is infinite like God's power, therefore circular reasoning is proof of God.
That is not correct. So again, if you can have a system of truth, like a truth table, and no matter what you put in, if it always comes out truth in the end, then it's proved it's not evidence. So that's why circular reasoning doesn't work for anything. It doesn't matter if you think it has all powerful or not. It doesn't matter what properties you put in for it. It's equally as bad evidence for anything of any properties.
He said, what is your standard for correctness without a law?
Reality.
By the way, the rest of the people in the chat are saying Lenny is trolling.
Probably. I don't mind. Like, as long as I get views, I don't care if people troll.
He says reality is a law. That's what he's saying.
No, it's not. Reality is all that exists. So are you saying Allah is my butt hair?
And he said Allah is in the Quran.
Well, if Allah is in the Quran, then he must not have created the universe because the Quran is a book. So if he's in a book and that's it, then he didn't exist prior to whoever wrote the book.
Now he's asking, can you prove that Allah isn't reality?
Sure, because the Quran doesn't make novel testable predictions. It's incorrect. The things in it are false. Therefore, he did not create the universe.
He says it does. It predicts atheists go to HE double hockey sticks.
Well, as soon as like you could die and then go there and then bring back evidence of that being the case, then that would be great. That'd be a phenomenal novel testable prediction. If we could die and then go to hell, that would be great evidence. Unfortunately, hasn't happened.
He said we can test this with the hadiths of the Prophet.
Well, the hadiths are all wrong. So, like, the moon didn't split in half. Birds did not dive bomb elephants. Sperm does not come between the hip bone and the back or whatever. Like, it's just wrong about things. Salt water and fresh water do mix. It's wrong about that. So yeah, the Quran, the hadiths are wrong about a bunch of stuff.
He says salt and fresh water don't mix.
Oh, they do mix. There's actually literally an ocean where fresh water from rivers goes into the ocean with the salt water, and they literally mix.
Lenny
Literally.
says he has proof that salt and fresh water don't mix.
Again, what do you think happens when rivers flow into the ocean? Is it magic? Does it magically not mix?
He says the souls of atheists are salty like the sea, and consequently they cannot mix with God, who is pure like water.
Okay.
So now he's not even saying that salt water and fresh water can't mix. He's just saying salt and water can't mix.
I think he's saying salty souls and watery souls cannot mix.
He says we see this in the Quran.
But anyway.
He is the one who has set free the two kinds of water, one sweet and palatable, and the other salty and bitter, and he has made between them a barrier and a forbidding partition. Quran 25:53. Oh, he's just putting verses now.
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about where it says salt water and fresh water doesn't make sense wrong. And there's actually more than two kinds of water, so there's another mistake in there.
He says the
we move on to
Quran
the next guy.
clearly states that water cannot mix.
Yes, water cannot mix. Genius. Most genius thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, what's going on, Balik?
Oh, hey man, like, I just got a few questions about like, what do you think of the harm principle? Is it like, is it still flawed, inherently flawed about like, how do you draw boundaries on what really constitutes that's like directly affecting people or consequences? Like, is it limited to having a direct consequence of your action that is negative?
I use consent. So harm principle doesn't matter. So like you can consent to being harmed, and then it's not immoral. So I don't really care about harm. I care about consent. Okay.
I'm back.
Right.
Thanks for inviting me back. All right. Anyways, so this is gonna somewhat relate to what we were talking about earlier. Do you think that like a person in the future is the same as a person in the past?
It's up to you. So you get to define it that way if you want in your universe.
Well, no, I don't know that that's. I don't know that that's actually how that works.
Well, if you have your own universe and you can define the rules of the universe, you can make it one way or the other. Like if you don't like it the way it is here in this universe, you could change it if you wanted to. So you literally become a new person every second, and that's up to you. Like I don't care if you want to do that with.
Well,
your
no,
universe,
I mean at that point, it's not an actual like it's not an actual what's the word I'm looking for? That's not an actual description of reality. That's just playing word games. Then
no, like literally, if you want to set up your
like what
universe,
I'm saying is in the universe, like in the universe as we are, right? How I am now, 5 minutes into the future from now, or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Past,
In our universe, typically, I think we're the same person. Yeah, sure. Identity persists over time.
Okay, so you think that we are?
Yeah.
I would disagree with that, I guess, and then I guess I would say that you're not the same person that you were 5 minutes ago, because the person you were 5 minutes ago does not have the same knowledge that you have now, and like you're not the same person as you were when you were 6 or 7. Not just because you didn't have the same knowledge, but also because you just physically you were you're basically completely and utterly different.
I don't care about knowledge. I care about the persistence of conscious experience. I think that your conscious experience is the same persisting conscious experience as the one you had as a child, even if the knowledge you changed. I don't really care.
Okay. I actually don't know this about you. Are you what do you think consciousness is exactly? Or not exactly, but whatever you
what it's like to be something, qualia, direct experience.
What it's like to be something. Do you think that it's a a purely physical process, or do you think it's something that transcends physicality?
No, I'm a materialist.
So you think that it's a purely physical process?
Yeah, everything is physical.
Okay, well, so like, let's say that, ship of Theseus, the brain, slowly swap out every single cell, every single atom, even for a different atom, until at which point you have no more of the same atoms. Is that still the same person?
Yep, because the person, the consciousness is the process that the atoms is producing, not the atoms themselves. And so it doesn't matter if the process was continued by multiple different sets of atoms.
Okay, so it's the process, not the actual physical makeup. It's the physical process, not the physical material. That's what you're saying.
Right.
I hate to interrupt you, gentlemen. I have to head out. Thanks for having me, TJump.
Yep. See you later. So like the heart pumps blood, and that's its process. It doesn't matter if you replace parts with the heart with like, I don't know, silicone, it's still going to pump the same blood. And consciousness is the process that the brain is doing, which is physical. It's physical, it's energy, it's matter.
Well, it'll pump the same blood, but it's not the same heart, though.
No, the you is the pumping. So the consciousness is the pumping in this analogy. And so as long as the pumping is still going on, it doesn't matter what's doing the pumping. So if you switch out the parts, it's still doing the pumping, so it's still you. The process is the consciousness is you.
Okay. If your physical brain, as it is right now, well, I guess maybe not as it is right now, because but you as you are now, and then you lost all of your memories. I mean, would you still be the same person?
Depends how you define person. Would you be the same consciousness? Yes.
You would be the same consciousness?
Yeah. Like if the consciousness is the process done by the brain and your brain loses access to one part of it, it's still the same process, just doing it less successfully.
Okay, if I took away all of your memories and then I swapped out all the physical thing, I mean, at that point, it seems like you're saying it's the brain then. That's the physical aspect of it.
The process done by the brain.
Right, but if I take away all your memories and then I swap out your physical brain with a different physical brain that's oriented identically, so now you neither have the memories or the physical brain. How are you the same person still?
As long as you still have a consistent process that never stopped and was still produced in the same general location, then yet still you.
I mean, do you not think that the formation of memories and the keeping of memories are part of that process?
No. Like the process is just literally the physical energy being transferred from neurons in a specific pattern. The fact that like one part of your brain does memory, if you just got rid of that entirely, it would still be you. It makes no difference. You is that process producing the consciousness. Whether or not that consciousness has some kind of memory states is just irrelevant. Still you.
So you don't think memory is necessary for consciousness?
No, definitely not.
Could you describe what an entity that has consciousness but no memory at all, no memory whatsoever, would be like?
Like people with short-term and long-term memory loss?
Well, it wouldn't just be long term because it would also be short term. Like, because
yes, I said
if you
both.
can
I said
remember
short term
something from 5
and
seconds
long term.
ago-
Yes, yes. So
Yeah, I
this
guess
is,
if you
this
could,
is the
yeah.
thing. This exists. Literally, this exists.
Does it?
Yes, like memory and consciousness are not the same thing at all. I don't know why you would think you would need memory for consciousness. Consciousness is just like awareness of the present moment. You can have that with no awareness of the past whatsoever.
So I get. So what are? I mean, enlighten me, please. What are people who have both long and short term memory to the point where they literally remember nothing? What are they like?
Depends, because you can still have subconscious things, like you can still speak, you still talk to people, you just don't remember anybody's faces or what you were talking about, or can't really hold a conversation, but you could be a
Right,
lot
but
of
you
different
remember
things.
what words mean.
Well, you don't
Right?
remember that at all. No, it's just your subconscious memory tells you that, but you have no awareness. You can't like tell you what it means. It's just something that's ingrained into your subconscious. Even if you didn't have that, you could still have consciousness.
Wait, so you have no awareness of what you're
Words
saying,
mean?
of like what? Yeah, you have no awareness of what words mean.
Yeah. That's also a
and
thing.
you're still saying the words.
Yes. Like just
So-
like you're breathing and you're not intentionally breathing, you just do it.
So you need neither memory nor awareness in order to have consciousness.
Well, you need awareness. You don't need awareness of what words mean because that's memory. So you don't need memory at all. Memory is completely irrelevant. Again, this is very, very basic. Not really a hard concept to understand. You can be consciously aware of the
You
present
keep
moment.
saying that. I mean, I'm clearly confused here at least.
So
I
what,
mean,
what confuses you about a thing that is consciously aware of the present moment but has no memories? Like babies at some point become consciously aware of the present moment but have zero memories, right? That's a thing. Clearly, all living beings who have ever existed have to go through this state of at some point having literally no memories and just an experience of the present moment. Like this should not be a difficult process to wrap your
So
head around.
I feel like there's a difference between like something being able to react to present moments and then being conscious, because it's like germs can react to
I
the
didn't say
present
anything about
moment.
reacting. I said nothing about reacting. So having a direct experience, conscious experience, is completely different than having memories. All living beings who have brains and who are conscious start at one point where they have a conscious experience of the world but have no memories, right? Like literally, it has to be the case that conscious beings exist with no memories at some points along their existence, right? Because they didn't
Right,
have
but
any experiences.
So yeah, no, I would agree with you there. Except that the second that they pop into existence, they already start having once they start having experiences, they start generating those memories.
Sure, but let's suppose that part of their brain was broken and they aren't saved to memory. They can still have the direct experience without the saving to memory part. Two different parts of the brain.
I don't. Again, I'm trying to even imagine what that would even be like, because I'm kind of struggling with that. I don't see how you can have a conscious experience and not have memory.
I don't understand why that's so difficult. It should be really basic. It's like, hey, you wake up, conscious experience, and your brain just fails. The memory part of your brain is just destroyed, so it can't be saved. And so just literally every moment of being awake is as if you were a newborn baby. It's just constantly like that throughout your entire life. No memory. Like it should not be that hard.
I mean, I don't even think it would be as if you were a newborn baby. Even newborn babies have memories.
No, if like
They
newborn
they
as in prior to them.
recognize. I mean, okay, it depends. Like, maybe. I guess I'm not an expert on that, but like, there's like some things where it's like they recognize the heartbeat of their mothers or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure, but like there's some. It's not complex memory by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something there.
Well, I don't understand what you're using as memory there. So like the cuckoo baby bird.
Well, it would be the recognition of the heartbeat. Like if they can recognize like the patterns.
That wouldn't be a memory since it's never heard it before. It can still recognize it not based off of a memory, but based off of biological priming. So like cuckoo bird is a bird that plants its
you can
eggs.
hear. I mean, like you can hear. What do you mean you never heard it before? I mean,
so like if it has no ears, it can't hear it, but it can recognize it not based off memory, based off of the pattern biological tuning. So a cuckoo bird is a bird that will lay its eggs in other birds' nests. When the bird hatches, it immediately pushes out all the other eggs. Did it learn this? Did it have this knowledge? No, it's literally never experienced any of this, but it pushes them all out because biology can pre-program dispositions into your brain with you having no memory of it. You don't have any memories. This isn't a memory. It's not like I had a memory of it didn't like eggs. It was literally programmed to do this by biology because it has tendencies and desires. So you don't need memories to be able to do certain things. It's two separate parts of the brain, but also irrelevant. Even if you could do literally nothing and recognize literally nothing, you could still be conscious and it would just all be very weird.
Right. So the cuckoo bird taking actions does not necessitate memory. I 100% agree with you there. I never claimed that it did.
Well, it's the same as the heartbeat thing with children. Like you have this biological priming to desire and notice certain things better than other things.
I don't think you can be biologically programmed to react to a person's heartbeat
Yes, you
better
can.
than some other person's heartbeat. I don't know that that's because like
Literally
how would that
irrelevant.
biological
Literally
programming
irrelevant. Like
know
what?
what your
Literally
mother's
irrelevant.
heartbeat is going to be like before you're
There are lots of
born?
ways to do that, but it's literally irrelevant. So I don't understand why this is so hard for you to understand. Yes, conscious things can
How
exist
is
with
it?
literally no memory. What is so hard about that?
I don't know why. I don't know. Whatever. You seem like you're getting very upset.
Yes, because if I don't like it when people say obviously stupid things and continue to ask obviously stupid questions when it's been asked and answered 30 times. Like this is a very easy concept. There's no like
you
is there
keep
a
saying
logical
that, I'm
contradiction?
just
Is
not
there a
grabbing
logical
it.
contradiction with the consciousness existing, having only experience of the present moment with no memories? Is there a logical contradiction there?
A logical contradiction. Okay, yeah. So I guess like, what do you define? I mean, like
P and not P at the same time.
P and not P at the same time. Yeah, I mean, so with consciousness, I mean, you're defining like qualia and whatnot. So like the experience of just any sort of experience. Is it is that and memory? So being able to log away that experience and recall it at some point. I
Like this should not be a hard question. It's very, very easy.
how do you have what through what mechanism is
How should I
giving
know?
rise to the experience? Huh?
How should I know? It wouldn't make a difference. Like literally I could say anything. Magic. I don't care. Makes no difference to the argument what mechanism is producing the consciousness. Irrelevant.
Okay.
Antangelo. Where is Antangelo?
Who?
He's in the audience. I was going to let him talk because he's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Hey, Antangelo. How's it going? You're muted. Might have to check your mic settings. Oh,
I'm
there you go.
sorry. Okay. Yeah, fine. Thanks. Happy Easter.
Oh, yeah, it's Easter. Forgot.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to the conversation, and I think that you need actually to start from the beginning. And I don't
Which
see,
conversation?
in regards of the origin of consciousness, and if it is just a transition, an evolutionary transition of matter becoming conscious. And I think you need to start right from the beginning. And in my understanding, it is not conceivable how suddenly matter could start to become conscious and start to comprehend logic and math and language and start to think and have imagination and memories and all this kind of stuff. It makes no sense to me to imagine that this could ever be possible, and it has also never been demonstrated actually to happen.
Sure. Well, I would say that it isn't conceivable for me to imagine a all-powerful sky daddy who exists outside of space-time and created the universe and sent his son to fix his own problems of forgetting to put a fence around a tree. I think that is even more inconceivable to me. But luckily, it doesn't make a difference to reality what we can conceive of, so it's not really relevant.
Well, yes, I think it is. I think it is also a little bit about intuition involved because we do not have access to ultimate reality. And I mean, the question boils down to what is at the beginning? Is it physical matter? Is it the physical, or is it the conscious, intelligent, powerful mind? And I think that it is far more plausible to imagine that a far more intelligent, powerful mind at the beginning created beings similar to him, which he had a reason or a goal or to create, these beings dependent to him. Of course, it is something which is a big mystery. We cannot understand why there is something rather than nothing. This is an unanswered question. And God just says, I am. So that you cannot go further. I understand what you are saying. It is very difficult and mind-bending to think about this and just imagine that why are we here? Why is there something and rather not nothing? But the question is, put both propositions on the table, which makes more sense. And I think thinking that matter can become conscious, that makes less sense to me.
What do you think makes more sense, a potato or quantum entanglement?
I don't understand your question.
Well, like what makes more intuitive sense? What is easier for you to understand? Potato, like the spud, or quantum entanglement, which is easier to understand?
Well, I would say if you ask me what is a potato, that's easy to understand, right?
Yeah.
What is quantum entanglement? That's difficult to understand. I agree with you.
Right. So the ability for us to understand things easily isn't evidence of which is more likely to be the fundamental nature of reality. Our ability to understand things isn't relevant to the fundamental nature of reality because we are trapped in this macro world. So understanding potatoes, very easy for us. Understanding quantum mechanics, very hard for us. And so it's actually more likely that the thing that doesn't make sense, that is very hard to us to understand, is probably going to be the true thing about the fundamental nature of reality. And it's probably not going to be one of the things that's very easy for us to understand because we live in a very different realm than the fundamental nature of reality.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, Tom. I think it boils down to a discussion about epistemology. How can we understand origins? What framework can we use to come to meaningful conclusions?
Well, I think you're skipping a step because that would be trying to use the methodology you already like without first demonstrating it works. And so, like, can you name a time where it's easier to understand, like physics, chemistry, biology, any progress that's ever been made in any of those fields has been easier to understand than our everyday lives, potatoes, farming, horses? Like, do you think that's ever been the case? Or do you think all scientific progress usually becomes harder to understand the more we go into it, which is why it requires higher levels of degrees to get there?
Yeah, I agree with you about that.
So if it's the case that as we make scientific progress, it gets harder and harder to understand, and the things that are the most easy for us to understand are the least relevant when it comes to the higher academic progress you make, then why do you think that pattern is going to switch when it comes to the most fundamental thing?
I don't know if I necessarily think that, okay, but what I put on the table right of the beginning is intuition, okay. So first of all, we have never observed matter to become conscious. So that is you cannot base that assertion on empirical demonstration.
Sure, but there's lots of things we haven't observed, but that doesn't make a difference.
Well,
We've never observed God. We've never observed a mind outside of space-time. We've never observed a thing being able to make space-time. Like, there's lots of things we've never observed. There's probably more of them in relation to a God than to physics, but it doesn't matter whether or not we've observed it. That's not relevant to the argument. The argument is, go ahead.
Well, I would disagree with you here, Tom. I would say that God has self-revealed himself to us through the scriptures, through the Bible, and through the incarnation of Christ, which coincidentally to our conversation right now is said that he did resurrect on Easter Sunday, today 2,000 years ago. And we have many testimonies which even died for their belief or what they experienced and saw. I would not agree with you that God has never revealed himself to us.
That wasn't the argument. I didn't say he didn't reveal himself. That part is irrelevant. So let's say that he did reveal himself in the Bible. where did we demonstrate? Where did we see a mind outside of space-time? Where did we demonstrate a mind creating time and space? Like, we have those words written on paper, but where have we ever seen it actually occur? Because like there are lots of words written on paper. I can write quantum entanglement on paper, but that's not an actual demonstration it exists.
Yeah, I think that analogies are very, very powerful indicators, and we can construct very powerful arguments in regards to the existence of God, as I have done many times, even here on this platform. I think that we can, by our own experience, see that we are able to make certain things, to construct certain things which we have never been observed, just non-intelligent mechanisms to be able to instantiate, right? So if we see in the natural world things which perform and work very similar to things that we have made, and we have never observed these things to be instantiated by natural means, then this is a strong indicator, even if we've not directly observed it, that these things in nature also require an intelligence in order to be instantiated.
Well, that's a hypothesis, but we have lots of hypotheses. So I have a hypothesis that the natural world is the best explanation for all consciousness. And so how do we tell which hypothesis is the better hypothesis?
Well, I give you an example. Would you agree that giving meaning to words is something that only intelligence does?
Not necessarily, but that's so the question I asked was, how do we tell which hypothesis is a better hypothesis? That's the question.
Well, I think that, as I just said right now, analogy is very interesting. If you see something that we as intelligent beings can do, and we know by our experience that non-intelligent things cannot do, and we see things in the natural world which are very similar that we have constructed with our intelligence, then we can infer that probably these things in nature also were made by an intelligent source.
So do you know what an argument from analogy fallacy is?
Go ahead, please.
Well, it's using analogies to try to infer truth things about the universe. Like, analogies are a great way to build a hypothesis. Perfectly fine. But they aren't evidence the hypothesis is true. So you need something else above the analogy to show that the hypothesis is true. Just the analogy itself isn't evidence.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to God, then it is not about what is 100% true or empirically true. If that were the case, and if we would have access to that information, then we would not have this conversation, right?
Well, I don't care about proof. I didn't say anything about proof here. So my question was, how do we tell which hypothesis is better? And you said analogy, and I said analogy isn't evidence. So what I think is evidence is novel testable prediction. If you can accurately predict things we don't know yet about the future and get it right consistently, that's a very good reason to believe your hypothesis is correct and the others are wrong. And so
good. So if you test something, if you make a hypothesis and test that hypothesis, and all you get in repeated experiments failure, would you agree that then therefore you would have to think, well, what are the possible explanations? Is there an alternative explanation? And if the first doesn't work and you have just one other explanation, then probably that other explanation is more plausible. Would you agree with that?
No. So even if, let's say, you test a hypothesis and it fails every time, that's never going to be evidence for a different hypothesis. No. So you need positive evidence.
If you have just two propositions, okay, you have just two possible explanations on the table.
Well, there's never two. There's never just two. So like,
well, I give you one. Either there is intelligence involved or not to create the physical world.
Well, that's not two. That's about two sets of infinites. So because there's different possible intelligences and there's different possible combinations of physical things. And so, like, if I said,
No.
I am
two buckets here on the table.
wait. So, like, if I said spontaneous generation was my hypothesis, the hypothesis that if you put dirty cloth in a jar, rats will pop into existence in the jar, and I say this is my hypothesis, and I'm going to test for this hypothesis, and it fails. That isn't evidence against natural causation of life. And so when you test a hypothesis, you're not testing all potential explanations of natural causation of life. You're testing a particular combination. And so you can't say we've been testing natural hypotheses and they've all been failing, therefore all natural hypotheses fail. No, it doesn't work that way. The ones we've tested, well, they actually have succeeded recently, but like spontaneous generation failed. That is true, but that is not evidence against natural causation. It's just evidence against spontaneous generation. And so there's infinitely many different variations of natural ways life could come about from non-life without a God. And there's infinitely many kinds of gods.
Okay, in what case would you say is it better to infer that intelligence was involved in creating life rather than not?
When novel testable predictions are made based off that hypothesis that are proven correct.
Okay, so I will put here just this hypothesis on the table. And my hypothesis is that it is possible to give meaning to words by non-intelligent mechanisms. Has that ever been observed to be possible?
Maybe, but even if it hasn't, that's not evidence for the alternative.
No. I'm asking you if it has been demonstrated to be possible. This is a yes or no question.
Well, my position is going to be yes, but that would be go against your argument. So just like to try to go with your argument.
If you say yes, then you need to tell me which experiment has demonstrated this to occur.
Depends on like how you define meaning in sentences. So that's the tricky part. But let's say that.
Okay,
let's go with your argument. Let's go with your argument. Let's say that we've never demonstrated that natural things can add meaning to words or whatever. That's still not a novel prediction. You still have no evidence that words were given meaning by an intelligence, an ultimate intelligence. And so
wait. I made the prediction.
That's not a prediction.
Non-intelligent. Well, I am making a hypothesis and the prediction that non-intelligent mechanisms.
What does prediction mean? What does novel prediction mean?
I establish a hypothesis.
What does the word novel prediction mean?
It means to establish a new hypothesis.
No, it does not. No. Novel prediction is to guess something that we don't know yet, that we've never seen before, and get it right. So if you're taking something that we've already seen, like that words are given meaning by intelligences, that's not a prediction. You're not predicting anything. And saying that something won't happen that we've never seen before is also not a prediction. You're just predicting the exact same thing we've already seen. So if I say, we will not see the sun be purple in the sky tomorrow, that's not a novel prediction. You're just predicting the exact same thing we've already seen. It's called postdiction. You're just saying we're going to see the same stuff. So for it to be novel, you need to predict something different, something we have not seen yet. And it has to get it right. So predicting that matter will not add meaning to words, if we've never seen matter adding meanings to words, is not a novel prediction. It's like predicting the sun will not be purple tomorrow. So in order to have a prediction, you have to give us a piece of something that you think we will discover to be true that we've never seen before.
Yeah, Tom, I think it is not necessary just to have this fixation on predictions. I think what you need is a framework of investigation, and we have two competing hypotheses. One is that intelligence was involved in creating life, and the other is that intelligence was not involved in creating life.
Well, that's the hypothesis part. The hypothesis part we don't care about. What we need is something that can show one hypothesis is better. And the model that I think does that is not a prediction. And you're saying,
Okay,
well,
I
we don't need
agree
novel
with you.
prediction. I know.
Let me finish, please. You interrupted me. Let me finish, and I will explain to you why I disagree with your epistemological methodology, that you think that just testing novel predictions is a pathway to find truth, to find good inferences to origins. I will explain to you why I disagree with that.
Okay.
I think that our picture is very clear. The theism, atheism debate is between two competing hypotheses. In one, there is the ingredients intelligence, and in the other, there is not. Okay, so now we have a specific phenomena here. That phenomena is a assignment of meaning to words. Okay, that needs an explanation. And I am asking, what is the more case adequate explanation when you see a word and you see the assignment of a meaning to that word?
Well, so this is why I interrupt before. So
please. Yeah, let me finish, please.
No. So
I cannot make a case if you are interrupting. That's what you usually do.
I'm lost on what you're saying. It doesn't seem to follow. So the question was, why don't you think novel prediction is the best way to establish truth? And I'm not seeing how you're answering the question. I'm getting lost in all the irrelevance that don't answer that question.
Well, I'm being very, very concise and relevant, but you are unable to listen, Tom. That's usual what you do, and you interrupt your interlocutor. Okay.
So what is your answer? Why is novel prediction not correct?
Yeah. I think that you made a word salad before. You were not concise and not clear.
That's fine.
Okay.
I don't
need to make.
Why?
I don't need. Can I finish, please? You're interrupting me.
Because you're not answering the question. Why is novel prediction not required?
Yes, I am trying to answer your question, but you're interrupting me. Okay. So please let me finish to talk.
Okay.
I say that we can make a novel prediction which has never been demonstrated before to be possible, which is that non-intelligent mechanisms could be able to assign meaning to words. You can test this.
That's not a novel prediction, Angelo. That's literally not a novel prediction. A novel prediction is predict something we have not seen yet and discover that thing. No.
Exactly. We have never seen.
Listen carefully.
Assign meaning to words. That is a novel prediction.
Novel prediction. You have to predict something we haven't seen yet and discover that happened. Not that it didn't happen.
Why does it have to be a novel prediction? I am giving you a challenge, which is your case. You need to demonstrate. You need to demonstrate that non-intelligent mechanisms are capable to assign meanings to words. If you are not capable, you have no case for naturalism, and you are lost, and you are not listening. And since you are not listening, Tom, as you are usually doing, I am ending this conversation. Yes, I.
Okay, so I will end the conversation. Predicting something we already see is not a novel prediction. If I say what you need to do to prove your hypothesis is to prove that the sun is going to come up tomorrow purple, and I predict it will come up tomorrow yellow, that's not a novel prediction. You're predicting the same thing we've already seen, which is not evidence of your hypothesis. What you're saying is I have not provided evidence of mine, but you haven't provided any positive evidence of yours by giving this example. This is why it's not evidence. It doesn't matter if I don't provide evidence. Suppose I never provided any evidence. That will never be evidence of your hypothesis. What you need to make a novel prediction of something we've never seen before, something that's out of the ordinary, and get it right for your design or hypothesis to be supported. It doesn't matter if I never provide evidence. That will never be evidence of yours, because the falsification of my hypothesis is never evidence of your hypothesis. If you have 10 axles and you prove the first 9 are broken, that isn't evidence the 10th works. Literally one of the basic fallacies. So this is why you need novel prediction of something new that we don't know yet to be evidence of your hypothesis. And abiogenesis has done this. We have tons and tons of evidence of abiogenesis doing this, making successful novel predictions. It has not failed ever. It's been making tons of progress. So you're simply wrong about that. But even if it did, that would still never be evidence of your God. Let's see, who hasn't spoken yet? Brenda hasn't spoken yet. Hey, Brenda. I cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now.
I have a sort of different question.
Okay.
About propositions.
Okay.
Right. Is that okay?
I guess.
About epistemology, about the status of propositions.
I have no idea. I don't. Status of propositions. What's your question?
Are propositions mind dependent?
Depends, I guess.
So if I say that bachelors are unmarried men, and I say that there is a possible world with no minds in that possible world, but I say it's true of that world that bachelors, or there's some analytic truth. Doesn't have to be bachelors. Some analytic truth about that world. Does that mean that necessarily there must be a mind that gives
No.
that proposition? And so what error am I committing?
I said no.
Yeah,
So I didn't say that you had an error.
what's my mistake?
I didn't say
Huh?
that. I didn't say there was a misstep.
Okay. So I've had arguments run against me that say that, if I say that a proposition is true, and we can talk about logically possible worlds, the contention seemed to be, I said, in that possible world, analytic truths are true. They want to say that I am saying that there must be a mind that in that possible world.
I don't know why they're saying that.
Because they say it is an entailment.
Well, like to form a sentence, I think would require a mind. I think, and so.
Yeah, and the fact.
Well, so like if truth is a property of sentences, and so if no sentences exist, then truth wouldn't exist. But there'd still be facts. There'd still be facts in the universe. Like it is a fact that there isn't a married bachelor. But that sentence is only true if you express the sentence, and then truth is a property of that sentence because it corresponds to reality. And so if you're expressing a sentence, then obviously there has to be a mind to express the sentence. So in that sense, propositions can't exist without a mind, but the facts of the universe would still be there, correct, without the mind.
I think the argument that's been put forward to me is that there must be a mind. If it's true about that world, there's a logically possible world about which we can say true and false propositions, then it must be a mind in that world.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know, but what mistake is being made? What error is being? Is there some kind of philosophical dispute about propositions and whether they are mind dependent or not?
Sure, but I think the consensus is that they are mind independent. But there's definitely a dispute there between like the idealists. But
propositions are mind independent.
That's the consensus. Yes. But there is.
I don't know what
disagreement.
Yeah, I think that proposition is just a sentence in a language.
Yep.
Right, and in order to have a sentence in a language, you have to have a mind that can form true or false propositions in a language, right?
Sure.
So propositions depend on minds.
Sure, but the proposition doesn't exist, but it can still describe a universe even if it doesn't exist. So I can say the universe with no minds in it has a potato or whatever. That sentence could be true because I said it in my universe. But if I never said it, it would never be true, right? But it would still describe the universe if someone was ever to say it. And so even though it is required for me to say the sentence in our universe to accurately describe that universe doesn't have a mind, but it still accurately describes that universe.
Yeah. So does that necessarily entail that you must believe that propositions are mind independent?
For the proposition to be said, it requires a mind. For the proposition to describe a reality, it does not require a mind.
I'm not sure I'm quite getting the what's going on. I'm not quite. There's something about this issue that I'm not getting.
It's just words require minds because we made them up. But the words can describe reality just fine, and reality has a set of things, words that would describe it if they were said.
Sure.
So that's all there is to it. So the words are contingent on the mind, but the words describing reality is not contingent on the mind. That's a separate thing. Whether or not the words correspond to reality is a separate fact to the words requiring a mind to exist in the first place. And so,
right, the truth of the proposition depends on some facts about that world that make that proposition true.
right. And so
Right,
it
'cause
is an equivocation between those two things. The facts that propositions and words require a mind is true about their existing, but it's not true about their correspondence to the reality. And to say that they do is a conflation between those two separate facts.
Yeah, because there have been I don't know if they're necessarily theists, but they are
Morons.
not naturalists. Not well. You said it's a consensus view in philosophy.
That it's not contingent on a mind in the second case that I mentioned about the correspondence to reality. That part is separate.
Oh yeah, the truth of the proposition isn't contingent on a mind; it's contingent on the facts.
Right.
Because the facts are the truth maker.
Right.
Right.
So, and then when people refer to propositions, they're usually referring to that, not the fact that we require our minds to generate the words.
Yeah. So this is kind of confusing. It's helpful to talk about it because there are theists, more sophisticated apologists who will bring up these issues.
Yeah.
And I have difficulty navigating this because I suspect there's an equivocation, but I can't always pin it down.
Well, it's that exact one where they're taking the fact that we need to generate the sentence in our brains, and so it's required. A brain is required to generate the proposition for it to be true. But what makes it true, the truth maker, is the correspondence to the reality, and they're trying to equivocate those two things to say that the proposition and its the facts that make it true are both contingent on a mind. When they're not, it's only the first part, the generation of the word, that's contingent on a mind.
Okay. Well, I have difficulty doing this because the way it gets put is often very confusing because there's a conflation going on.
Yes,
right?
And that is intentional to try and make it confusing.
I'm not sure it's intentional. I think it's in some cases it's conceptual. They have this concept and they're going to stick with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think that the people I've run into is not trying to intentionally deceive. They have this idea of the way things must be, which involves an equivocating. But then it gets hard for me to. These are like threads that need to be pulled apart, and sometimes it's difficult to do that.
Yep.
Okay. Just say good job, Brenda.
Good job, Brenda.
Okay.
All right. Let's see who's next. Who hasn't talked? I don't think I've had Big P.
Hello.
What's up?
Can I ask political questions?
Sure.
All right. I have two questions. They're one is one question, and the other one is a follow-up.
A different question?
To that
two questions?
It's a follow-up. It's a follow-up to the first question.
Okay.
The second one. Okay. Do you agree that the fact people believe in God is studied among the social sciences?
Of course. It's literally philosophy of religion.
Okay. And then why do we reaffirm the beliefs of transgender people about their own sexuality through gender identity, but we don't reaffirm theists about their personal belief about the nature of the universe in a similar way?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Should I
So
repeat?
wait, let me see if I can. So you're asking, why do we accept the truth of the transgender claims, but not the truth of the religious claims? Is that what you're asking?
No. We reaffirm their beliefs about their own sexuality through gender identity. So we don't really claim that they're actually women sexually, but we do reaffirm that claim through gender identity. But we don't really do that in a similar way to people who are religious and, let's say, believe in God.
I don't understand your question. So I accept that you are let's say a Christian, just like I accept that a transgender person is transgender. I think they're both ideological positions and they both represent some kind of psychological state in the person equally. I don't see a difference there.
Yeah, but there's a difference between sex and gender identity, though. Obviously.
Sure.
So gender is not grounded in science or objectivity. It's purely subjective.
Okay.
Um,
But so is
and
like
therefore,
religious ideology. So Christianity,
so
Islam, Judaism.
yeah, so as religious beliefs in general, like theism, or maybe something spiritual, let's say, shouldn't be maybe souls or spirits, demons, whatever. Why do we affirm the claims of a transgender person about their own sexuality through gender identity, and we affirm that by calling them a she or a he, but we don't do the same in a similar way to a religious man or a woman who claims the existence of God.
Well, I do. I claim you're a theist. So I have a word to label your belief, just like I have a word to label transgender people's belief.
Yeah, but that's not the same though. It's transgender identity is different, considering that, let's say, a man transitions to a woman, and then that biological man asks to be basically reaffirmed through gender identity, that he or she be called a she, basically.
Sure. I mean, but if you put on
Instead,
a dress and wear a little white thing around your neck, I'm going to call you a pastor, even though there's no such thing as a pastor. It doesn't exist in reality anywhere. But if you do the right ritual stuff, I'm going to call you a pastor because that's what your ideology entails. It's not about the truth conditions of the thing. It's just a respecting of the ideology of the person. And we have that for all ideologies. It's the same.
so would it be mean for me to go up to a transgender person and say, well, you're biologically a man or biologically a woman, you're not actually whatever you identify as? Would that be
Yes. That would be
disrespectful?
like me going up to a pastor and saying, you're not really a pastor. There's no such thing as a pastor. It's just a made up term by some hokey pope guy. Yes, that would be mean.
I wouldn't really agree with that analogy, but I would consider it the same with debating theists about their personal beliefs about the nature of the universe.
Well, if I went up to a theist and said, your God is fake, silly Christian, like, yes, that would be mean too. If we went into a debate and we both consensually agreed to participate in the discussion, then it wouldn't be like if a trans person decided to go into a debate on trans and whether or not it's real, then it would not be mean to tell them they're not trans. That's perfectly consensual.
Okay. Can I go then on national television and say, and not at the same time be disrespectful and say, transgender like a transgender woman is actually a man? Wouldn't be that equally disrespectful if I would go to national television and say, that person claims God exists is wrong?
No, those would not be equivalent statements.
Okay, well, that's it. Let's agree to disagree. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Well, like,
thank you.
Sure.
Goodbye.
Let's see, I got Nomali.
Hi then.
Hey.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the thing.
Sure.
Yeah, like with atheism, I kind of I think it's an interesting point because a lot of people will argue that the existence of God kind of proves morality, whereas a lot of atheists will be like, I don't need a God for morality, and it more or less becomes just whether things are wrong, which, yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with the atheist concept. It's like how do I know these deities are not things you've created to try and explain like good and evil in people? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like objectively, we do have to acknowledge there's some kind of conscious element in the universe.
Well, obviously, I mean, I'm conscious. I'm in the universe.
Yeah, like, but you know, like when something bad happens to someone, it's kind of poetic justice or whatever. Like you'd call it karma, you'd call it judgment or whatever. Like, do you not feel like there is kind of a conscious element of that in the universe, like
No,
in
definitely
life?
not. Definitely not. Like there are dictators who have mass murdered millions of people and lived their entire lives perfectly fine. There is no karmic justice. Many horrible, evil people get off scot-free all the time, and the people who are innocent get tortured and killed all the time and never get compensation for that. There's no karma.
Yeah, no, I think that's ridiculous to deny. I think that's correct, really. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying not to make it a conversation about morality. Just I don't know if everything's an accident. Like, what do you feel gives us the instincts to say that this is immoral if I do it, like guilt or whatever? Because evolutionarily, would that not hold you back?
No, actually, it's the other way. Moral inclinations actually help you, evolutionarily speaking. And so that's why the consensus among biologists is that evolution is or morality is a result of evolution. I think morality is real. I think there is an objective morality there. There's no evidence of this yet. It's just a hypothesis. But the consensus among philosophers is that there is an objective truth to morality beyond just evolutionary subjectivity.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. It can help form society or whatever. I was kind of thinking of like a weird out there example, but you know, like peaceful protests where they might have a load of people lie down in the ground. It's because like an authority figure knows they're in a deliberately vulnerable position, so it would be wrong of them to do anything.
Sure.
I don't know. I do kind of feel. Do you not feel like there's gods of atheism almost?
Depends what you mean. So I think I define God as usually a non-physical mind that exists with intentions outside of space-time for us. I don't think atheism has any of that. I think they do have things that they value or see as ultimate in the universe.
Well, yeah, like I don't know. Saying someone plays a stage character, and the minute the actor does something wrong, they're no longer considered that stage character or whatever. But I don't know. I do kind of feel like saying you had like an entirely atheist country and everybody swore allegiance to this one figure. Like, are they almost not like a god?
No. Like I don't know of anybody in the atheist community who swears allegiance to anybody, but even if they did, that wouldn't be like a god. Like a god is a thing outside of space-time that created the universe. Swearing allegiance to a human isn't the god.
No, I'd agree on that. Yeah. No, I'm kind of thinking of like the pharaohs when, like they say, you know, if you don't make me happy, I won't bring the rain in the spring, and therefore so everyone works all year to make them happy. Or
Yeah. So they
I
believe
don't know,
they
like,
had more control over physics than they did. That's still not a god. Like a god is creator of the universe. So like eventually we'll be able to have that much control over physics. It won't make you a god though.
yeah, I was going to lead it on to a comparison of like I don't know, Stalin or communist countries when they've like made religion illegal or whatever.
It's not a god.
Yeah, no, okay, that is true. I don't know. I kind of tuned in because I was just having thoughts on this, and yeah, thanks for giving me time to present them.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna hang up now.
All right, cool. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
Walker, what's up?
Hey, Hey Tom, how you doing?
All right, not too bad.
I was wanting to run something past you because I was trying to figure out which way I should go in this argument.
Left.
All right, always left. I'll do it left from now on. Thank you. Anyway, I heard somebody say that they had a worldview that had no presuppositions, and then I had an atheist that said that they had a worldview that had one less presupposition than a theist worldview, in the fact that their worldview doesn't have a first cause with agency. So I'm trying to figure out how to walk my way through this, because as far as I can tell, if you're starting with the laws of thought, this is, for example, where I think we get the concept of logic from, the idea of self and not self and that sort of thing. Like, we're starting right from the very beginning, thinking in logic. It's the language we think in, right?
Sure.
Or am I off course somewhere? So we don't have to presuppose the laws of logic. We just have to recognize they're there and they seem consistent.
Sure.
Is any of that a presupposition?
So a presupposition is something you assume is true before you make an argument. So if you're saying that you begin with the presupposition of the laws of logic in order to make an argument that, like, to ground reality or whatever, yeah, that could be a presupposition. I don't like to use any presuppositions, but you can, and you can say that the presupposition of the laws of logic is better than the presupposition of a God, and that's a rational argument to make.
I'm guessing I'm not figuring out how I'm presupposing them by recognizing them in action. I'm guessing I'm not figuring out how I'm presupposing them.
So I would say that it's like a presupposition is just anything you assume is true before you make an argument. So, like, I'm presupposing English when I speak to you because I haven't, like, given some kind of deductive reason to expect English meaning to have these words I'm saying have any meaning at all. I'm just presupposing that so that I can convey the argument to you. And so you can not presuppose the laws of logic if you start with some, like, experience and then use the laws of logic to describe that experience or try to derive them from that experience or something. And that's fine. You don't need to presuppose the laws of logic. If you can, if you want to.
No, I think going on the existence precedes essence line of reasoning seems to work better here. The idea that I'm recognizing they exist, I'm not making assertions about their origin. I'm just describing what I'm seeing and what I'm directly experiencing, and the A and not A, and and that it appears to be constant and consistent. Whether it is or not, I have no idea. It just appears this way, and so that's the procedure I'm moving forward with my fabulism.
Yeah, you could do that. You can just say, I don't presuppose the laws of logic. I derive them from experience or something. That's fine.
It seems to be the case if you're thinking about Descartes as being his statement of being a thinking thing, is that he's recognizing the thinking is going on and that it appears to come from a thing that is being labeled self. And so, at the very beginning of the Cogito is the recognition of logic being used.
So I think it's the recognition of the experience. But yes, sure, that's fine.
Okay, that makes fair enough. Oh, and I just, the one person who was saying that, like, a person saying that their personality does not match society's definition of what a man or woman is supposed to be is, how is it possibly the same thing as a theist saying that there's a God at the origin of reality? I mean, those are two different things. Society states what a man or woman is, and someone either agrees or disagrees. That's the difference between sex and gender. I don't get how that guy was talking about gods and theism being the same.
I think his argument was something like, we accept the claim that they're making at face value in the case of transgender gender identity claims, but we don't accept it or respect it in the case of religious claims. I think he was making an argument that it's okay to criticize religion publicly, and it's not considered religion phobic, but it's not okay to criticize transgender ideologies in public. And he was trying to make a comparison between those two to say that they are both equally as immoral. I think that was the argument he was trying to make.
Well, that's epically stupid because the person's talking about themselves and rejecting a label that's being put upon them, and the other one is making a claim about the origin of reality. It's the vastness of that category error is stunning.
I'd say the one difference is that in the case of religion, you're making a claim that would have implications about my afterlife or whatever. And so it applies to me. And so I have a right to criticize that. Whereas in the case of transgender, like you're saying that your whatever has no implications on me whatsoever. And so in that case, that would be the substantive difference, I would say. But then in the case where if there's a society trying to impose transgender language on you, and that does have an implication, then I think you do have a right to criticize the ideology. But literally just going up to somebody and saying, you believe in this false thing, you're stupid. Yeah, that's mean on either side. So that would be equally as mean for Christians or people against transgender people.
Well, when I was a fundamentalist, my argument against things like transgenderism was the fact that the Bible said that God created man and woman. And so therefore, if I accept the idea that there are people who appear to be one thing but claim to be another, I am somehow now in conflict with Scripture. And so that seems to be the core of where this is coming from. They're trying to defend the idea of the
I
statement
don't
of
think
man and
so.
women being created. No, you don't?
No, I think that the argument against transgenderism just comes from the innate intuitive position that there are two sexes and gender and sex are synonymous. And that's like the position of most people throughout the world, everywhere, and has been for tens of thousands of years. So I don't think it's specifically about the Bible. I think that obviously, because they believe there's a God created man and woman or whatever, that is something that biases them. But that was written by people who believe there were two genders, even though there's no God. So like that's a pretty common belief most people in humanity have, is that there are two genders and two sexes and they're the same thing. That's a very predominant view among most people throughout most of history. So it's not religiously related that motivates that kind of argument.
Are you aware that in Jewish cultures there was recognition to different genders?
Sure, there's many cultures that had that. They were just the minority, the significant minority.
Is it possible to claim that Jewish culture is a minority position just because of their size and not because of the impact of those ideas have translated further into history?
Yes. So like if they make up less than 1% of the population, then that is a minority, regardless of how much
Yes,
impact
if
they have in the
they do.
future.
Yeah, if they do. But if somebody comes up with an idea and it suddenly takes the world by storm, the fact that the original population that invented the idea was small or is small, does that really affect the power of the idea?
No, but the majority of people right now on the planet still think that there are two genders and two sexes.
Fair enough. I got it.
It's a very minority position in the West that disagrees with that. And the West is not the majority of people on the planet, that's for sure. Like I remember Matt Walsh, the guy who the What is a Woman guy, just started going to different countries and started asking them, what is a woman, and started telling them about this thing. He went to Africa, and like they all thought it was hilarious because like no, there's two sexes, man and woman. They all, like most people in the world think that it's a very new position that is gaining popularity in the West, but not really anywhere else.
I think some part of me sees it as a revival of other ideas, or a reclamation, perhaps.
Books exist to show man's ideas are not so new, but it doesn't make a difference. It's always been the minority.
All right, fair enough.
All right. Snowy, another question?
Snowy, the other
I'm
question?
back.
What's up? What's your
Yeah.
question?
Huh? Oh.
Yeah.
So
Words.
you would what?
Words. Give me words.
Yeah, words. Yeah, words. So you would say that like anything that Okay. So what would you describe as like being moral?
Voluntary assistance of will.
Okay. So then what would you describe as being morality?
A law of physics that instantiates these two principles.
A law of physics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moral
Like
naturalism.
Okay. How do so a law of physics? What exactly is the Like I said, I already asked you what the mechanism of that would be, and you said that you don't know yet.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I mean, you say it's a hypothesis. I mean, is there like, do you already have evidence for that hypothesis, like already existing, or is it like there can be evidence and we just don't have it yet?
Yeah, it can be evidence. If I already had evidence, I wouldn't be calling it a hypothesis.
Well, no, I mean, even a hypothesis can have some evidence for it and still be.
It depends on how you define evidence. I define evidence as novel testable predictions, which is like the standard of science to go from a hypothesis to theory.
Okay. But you're saying that so there's no evidence for it.
No hard evidence. No, it's just a hypothesis.
Well, so then what's the what is the why would you believe in that when you wouldn't believe in other things that don't have that also
You
do
can
not
believe
have?
anything you want. It's not contradictory
of
to
course
believe
you-
in things that don't have
No,
evidence.
I'm not.
It would only be contradictory to say it has evidence when it doesn't. So you're like, I believe I am the sexiest, smartest man alive. Do I have evidence of this? No.
Well, you do actually, right?
Thank
Well-
you, I guess. I'm flattered.
Well,
You're not my
no,
type.
I'm not saying that you. I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying that you have evidence. For it, right?
Again, it depends on how you define evidence. I define evidence as novel, testable predictions and nothing else. So I
Well,
don't
right,
care
you
about-
have. Well, yeah, you have novel testable. Like you have the ability to test whether or not you are the smartest, sexiest man alive, right?
So novel
not-
testable predictions is predicting something we don't know yet about reality and getting it right consistently.
And getting it right.
Yeah. So it's not like
Well, what if you get it
just,
wrong?
Not just
I mean,
a
if you-
prediction. That's evidence against your hypothesis.
Well, right. But you can test it though. You have that. You're making that hypothesis, and you can test it, and you can find that hypothesis to be wrong. That doesn't make it not a hypothesis anymore.
Be defeated hypothesis, but that's irrelevant. Like, I don't care if you can test it. That's not the point. The point is evidence is if you have tested it and have gotten it correct. And if you don't have that,
Right.
you don't have evidence in my position. So I don't care about the philosophical analysis. I don't care about the simplicity. I don't care about the elegance of the hypothesis. All that's garbage. I want you to have tested it and gotten it right, and then you have evidence. And if you don't have that, you don't have evidence.
Right. Okay. But okay. So my point, what I'm asking is not necessarily like.
Well, I'm just focusing on the word evidence you keep using and saying you do have evidence, you don't have evidence. I'm saying
Right.
if
No.
you don't have novel testable predictions that have been confirmed, you don't have evidence by my definition.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, I mean, obviously you can believe whatever you want.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I'm not not saying that you are not allowed to believe in objective morality. What I'm asking is, why do you believe in it without any sort of evidence?
Because I think it will have evidence in the future. So it's the same as any physicist comes up with a new model and thinks that their model is correct and then makes predictions thinking that they will be discovered and be correct about it. It's the same thing. So every hypothesis starts with no evidence, and scientists believe it because it's their model and they like it, or intuition or whatever. And then they try to discover the predictions.
I mean, typically I would think that they would come up with a hypothesis because they're using that as like an explanatory.
Well, yeah, but that's not
trying to
evidence.
explain
Remember?
something else that is happening, right?
Right. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm explaining
So what
moral,
do you-
and moral progress, the patterns that I see in those things, and what
Well,
I
hold
infer is
on.
going to happen in the future.
So moral progress, that kind of already.
No, it does not beg the question because it's just a consistent pattern. It doesn't matter what you call it. If there's a consistent pattern going in one direction, it's independent of what you call it. There's a pattern there.
What's the pattern and what's the direction?
Well, I think the pattern is that as we gain in resources and intelligence, there are more involuntary impositions that we see as unnecessary and begin calling them immoral.
Right. The consent. Right.
And I think that's the pattern, which I describe as the principle.
Right, that there's typically going towards more consent. I'm trying to think. I mean, we don't necessarily move in that. I'm not even necessarily saying that. I'm not even necessarily sure that we do move in that way, though.
Most ethicists would disagree.
I mean, isn't there like I mean, we generally find that living like society.
Yes, we find that in every society. So like women's rights, LGBTQ rights, Indian slavery, workers' rights, child labor laws. It all has the consistency of giving people more freedoms and more individual choices of expressions of their will to the most extent possible up until the point where doing so has some greater consequence of imposition of will. And that's the pattern that we seem to see in pretty much every society, even Saudi Arabia allowing women to drive like a few years ago.
Yeah. But we don't necessarily allow people to exit society.
What?
Right.
Sure we do.
You don't
What
allow.
are you talking about?
How so?
You can go off and just build a house in the woods. No one cares. No one's going to stop you.
I don't think that that's true.
You literally can do that. Lots of people do that all the time.
You can certainly, yeah. You can certainly go out into the woods. And you can certainly build a house. Probably, assuming that you have the means of traveling there and have the means of building said house, and nobody tries to stop you before then. But I mean, like, if it's like, what land are you going to be using? Are you going to be using public land? And then if you are using public land,
yeah, if you're using someone else's property, that would go against the morality because you're using someone else's property.
Yeah, you say someone else's property, and so typically I feel like what you're thinking of when you say that is like private property. But even if you're using public property, I mean, that's the property of the state, and I don't think you can't just freely use public land for whatever you want.
Right, you can't use other people's property, and that's consistent with the morality.
So I mean, yeah, so you would consider public land to be someone else's property?
Yes, like state parks and
Okay,
stuff.
so
You
then
can't just build a house on a state park and be like, hey, I want to live here. Like, no, it's not okay.
Right, sure, yeah, okay. So, but what woods are not? Can you identify the woods that are not public property?
Yes, the vast majority of them. Most of America is uninhabited, and you can just go and build a house there. And the government's like, all right, cool. It's the homestead. I think I forget what it's called, homesteading laws or whatever. If you build a house there, it's yours.
There's the Homestead Act, yeah, and like you can get homestead exemptions for certain things.
But yeah, if you build a house there in most of the country, you get to keep it as your property.
Okay, sure, but you then have to start paying property taxes on that. I mean, I think like there's like certain.
Nope, many of them there's no property taxes there.
All right, but then if you start engaging in commerce on that land with other individuals, and
if you build a company or something, then yeah, you're gonna have to start paying taxes.
Right, so you can't actually. So you can't just go out and just be there.
Yeah, you can't start a multi-million-dollar corporation and not pay taxes. If you're just going to build a home, no one's going to tax you.
Well, I'm not even talking about a multi-million-dollar corporation. I mean, let's say that you go and you build a house on that land and whatnot, and let's say you start farming that land as well. On top of that, you also don't get to just go anywhere and then do that. Like in order to do that, you would have to get approval from the federal government as to where exactly you're building that property. I don't think you can just go out into whatever.
No, it's already allocated. There's already like most land, as long as it's not developed public land. Yes, you can do that. But doesn't seem like any of this is relevant to your question. Like, what is?
Well, the point is, like, if you're not able to go out and just like go to some uninhabited area and then just live, it is relevant. If you're not able to do that, then you can't just exit from society.
Sure.
Right. So then you're being forced to participate in society, right?
Yes, by physics, unfortunately.
By physics, unfortunately. Not by physics, actually.
Yeah, like if say you're handicapped and you're literally incapable of going off and living on your own, you have to be a part of society because you need the support.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's not about having the physical
It's not relevant to the topic. Like, yes, there are many things in this world that you are forced to do that you don't get consent on that are immoral. Yes, it is immoral that you can't just go off on your own and be out of the system. Yes, that is an immoral.
Sorry.
I agree, immoral.
Right, but we all universally I say we all universally recognize, but most people would probably say that you should not necessarily be allowed to just go off and live on your own and like remove yourself from society.
I don't know where you're getting this idea that most people would say that. I don't know where you're getting that idea. Like, yeah, like most people don't care. Like, if you want to go for it. It's a very strange idea that you think most people would not be okay with that.
I'm pretty sure most people don't describe themselves as libertarians. I'm pretty sure that if you were to go,
I'm not a libertarian. I don't care about libertarians. Like, if somebody wants to go off into the woods and just build a house Who do you think is going to be like, that's bad? You should not go build a house in the woods.
Okay, go off, build a house in the woods, not pay any tax, not pay for it, not pay any taxes. Do it without the consent of the government, because just doing it off on your own will, not trying to like check in with the government, like, hey, is it okay if I build my house here?
Yeah, most
And
people are
get
not
the-
going to care. Like pretty much nobody's going to care.
I mean, you say that, okay, well, where are you? Okay, well, where are you getting it? I could just turn it right back onto you. It's like, where are you getting the claim that nobody's going to care about that?
Like you just ask, like, hey, would you, person over there in the street, do you care if somebody goes off in the woods and builds a house? Like, nope, do not care.
I feel like if I go out and I explain it, okay, so this person goes and they build a house there, and they just got that land, the resources on that land, it's now considered theirs. They didn't pay for it. They didn't ask beforehand.
There are literally laws that are in place for this to happen, this is again completely irrelevant to anything morally. But this is a thing. You can literally do this right now and not pay taxes.
You have to do that you can't do that just like.
Of course you can't do it anywhere. That's not
Spontaneously.
entailed in the morality.
Well, it is, because.
No, it's not.
How's it not?
You can do anything you want with yourself and your property. That's the morality. So if you can't do it with somebody else's property, and you can't do it with things that aren't yours or you, of course you can't. Like that's not a part of the morality.
Well, if everyone if all property is already claimed.
Yes, there are physical limitations, as I mentioned before, that we have to abide by that are not moral. It's not moral that there is physical limitations in this world that we have to abide by. It sucks.
I mean, but the thing about claiming that property, though, is that they could just as easily not claim that property.
Right. So there are physical limitations in this world.
No, that's not a physical limitation, though.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Like if
no,
we all just had our own universe,
if the
there's no
United
problem
States
anymore.
government claims 100 square miles of land, they could just as easily claim 90 square miles of land.
Right. But that's,
or
again,
50 square miles
I've already addressed this. Again, very simple question, very basic, very easy to understand. In our pragmatic world, there is a limited amount of land that we divide up against governments because we need protection against other governments. If we all got our own universe and you can have however much land you want, this is not a problem. It's irrelevant.
Okay. Seems like every time that there's like some sort of disagreement, you just say, "Oh, this is very simple. This is very basic," and then
for
you
you,
use that as
for specifically for you, and no one else have I said that for some very strange reason. Why do you think that is?
Maybe because I'm actually pinning you into a indefensible position,
or because you asked the exact same question, which I've already explained very clearly.
You don't ask the exact same question. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're repeating the same question in different ways. That's all you're doing. And I've already answered it, and I answer it in the exact same way every single time, and you just repeat the same question in a different way.
It's certainly possible that the answer you're giving isn't an actual answer. Do you think that's also a possibility? Well, do you think that that's a possibility at least?
Possible,
Maybe
yes,
you're just wrong.
It's logically possible. Unfortunately for you, I've already had this conversation at an academic level with professional philosophers, and they're like, "Oh, yes, that answer is sufficient." So I've already demonstrated academically this is sufficient answer. So your inability to accept the answer seems to be the problem.
Maybe you're just not explaining it very well.
I think I am. Most people in the chat get it. Most philosophers get it. It's pretty easy to understand the answer here. It's not difficult.
I don't see how a government claiming land they don't have to claim is suddenly okay.
Well, that was never a part of the
Right.
model.
I
So
mean,
the
they
model
don't
is
have to
that
claim.
the model is that involuntary imposition is wrong, and that the best world is there is none of that. So you can have as much land as you wanted to. You have your own universe if you wanted to. And you made some argument about, would people be okay with it if you just went off into the forest and built your own house and just didn't interact with society? Yes, tens of thousands of people do that in the United States right now and don't pay taxes. There's homesteader YouTube channels that are literally doing this right now. We don't care. Nobody cares. I don't know why you brought this in, because it's irrelevant to morality, but it happens all the time.
I mean, it might happen in the United States. So again, I don't.
It happens in every country all
no,
the time.
It is relevant to morality. No, it is absolutely relevant to morality. How's it not? I mean, like, if the whole thing about what you describe as
Because there's a
morality is
pragmatic
consent.
limitations of this world, and there's the objective moral best of all possible worlds, and those are not the same thing. There are physical limitations in this world that prevent us from being in the best of all possible world that's perfect from everyone. But when I'm talking about objective morality, what's a perfect moral world, I'm talking about
Right. I'm
the
not
best of
talking
all
about the
possible
physical
worlds.
limitations, though.
You literally
What I'm
are.
saying is that even within what I'm saying is that even within the realm of the physical limitations that we have, there are things that are occurring that
Okay, well, that's the problem. Stop talking about the physical world and our limitations. Talk about the best of all possible world, given all logical possibilities.
I'm saying even within the physical realm, there are things that we could not be doing. There are things that we either could be doing
care.
or could
Okay, talk about the
doing.
best of all possible worlds. World where everybody gets their own universe. Okay, now put your problem into that scenario and see how it works.
What the best of all put the problem in the best of all possible, but we don't live in the best of all possible worlds.
Right, and I don't care because I'm talking about objective morality that is based on the best of all possible worlds. So our pragmatic limitations are just not relevant to objective morality.
How are they not?
Because objective morality, as I'm defining it, is morality in the best of all possible worlds, the perfect, morally perfect world, which isn't this.
You define morality as being like some sort of law of physics.
Yes.
Right. We live in the physical universe.
Which is
if
not
there's not
perfectly
another
moral.
What?
Which is not perfectly moral. There's lots of immoral things that happen here, right?
Yes.
So if I'm trying to describe what perfect morality is, that would mean we get rid of all the immoral things, right?
I don't. So the way that I view morality, I don't view. So I wouldn't say that like a tornado is immoral.
Don't care.
You don't care?
No, I don't care. So when I'm talking about objective morality, I'm talking about a world with no immorality, right?
Right, I agree, but like,
so if you're asking a question about
that's
like,
what I'm saying is I wouldn't describe like a tornado occurring, right?
I don't care.
Killing someone.
I don't care. So when you bring up these pragmatic examples, they are irrelevant to anything I'm talking about because what I'm talking about is
they are relevant. I don't know why you're saying they're irrelevant.
I'm literally trying to explain it to you. When I'm talking about objective morality, you're asking questions about objective morality. I'm talking about what would be moral in the best of all possible worlds. And then when you try to say, but in our pragmatic limited situations, like I don't care. It's not relevant to anything I'm saying. I can tell you what would be I can translate this current pragmatic situation into the best of all possible worlds. I can tell you how to get from our pragmatic limitations to the best of all possible worlds. So someone wants to go build a house, give them their own universe. They can go build their own house and be alone. No taxes. Perfect.
Okay,
Great. That's the moral
if you're
situation.
saying that morality is a product of physics in the physical realm, you would have to then say that were the universe physically different, then in order to get to the best possible world, the entire universe would have to be physically different.
Sure.
And like in order to get to the best the quote what you would describe as the best possible world, like physics itself would have to be different.
And
okay, but if physics itself has to be different in order for your best possible world to be, and morality is a product of physics, then your objective morality would be a product of the physics of that universe. It would not be a product of the physics of our universe, though.
What? No, I don't think you understand.
Yes, actually, yes.
No. So like laws of physics don't there's many different laws of physics. So if there was a moral law of physics, that doesn't mean that it would govern everything else. That it would force all of the laws to obey that law. It could be a weakly interacting law like gravity. And so other laws are more powerful than it and overtake it and prevent it from being the perfectly moral world. So like if there is a moral law of physics and if it was maximized to be the dominant force that controlled everything, then the world would be the best of all possible worlds. If it's just another force and there are other forces that prevent it from taking hold, then there would be no problem with understanding how we are in a law of physics govern universes and morality is a law of physics, but it's not the governing law of physics that controls everything. It's not very hard to understand again. You seem to be under the impression that if morality is a law of physics, then it would just make everything perfectly moral in the universe. And if it was the most powerful law of physics, sure it would. But
well, no, and that's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that so if the law, so if morality is a law of physics, and in order for the best version of morality to exist, other laws of physics would have to change. Well, already you're saying that the laws of physics could be something else, but they're not.
Sure.
So then,
That's,
could
we already know that.
morality, like, could objective morality, if it's
Sure.
a law of physics,
Sure, if
be
there
something
is,
else?
if morality is instantiated with an object like a platonic object or a law of physics or a god, then yes, that thing could be different, which would instantiate a different morality.
Well, so hold on. If you can have different moralities, how can you pick one specific one as being the
Reality.
objective one?
So if there is an object that is the moral object in reality, then it is objectively the thing that governs objective morality. If there was a different object, then yes, there would be a different objective grounds of morality. Sure.
Right. So then two different universes could have two different laws of morality. Yeah.
It's logically possible. Sure.
Okay. So then what's the law of morality for our universe specifically? That's kind of what I'm getting at here.
The one that I think describes the patterns in moral intuition and moral progress.
So what would a universe that has a different law of morality look like? Like, how would that even, what would change suddenly?
Beings would have a different pattern in moral intuition and moral progress.
So if we were to copy every other physical aspect of our universe and we were to only change morality, then even though you and I have the exact same
answer as
brain
before.
patterns.
Exact same answer as before.
What was the exact same answer as before?
If all of the other laws of physics were the same, but we changed the moral law of physics, we'd have different patterns in moral intuition and moral progress.
Okay, so again, so let me just real quick. If we were to copy our universe, atom for atom, and we were to then change the law of morality to something else, you and I are atom for atom the exact same. What changes?
Exact
like what
same answer as before.
Okay, yeah. Can you give me an example?
Yes, we would change our moral intuition and moral progress. So we'd see different kinds of moral inclinations among societies and how they change over time, because this law would affect those things, affect how our brains develop moral intuitions over time.
So our beliefs would what's the mechanism? Like, what is the mechanism?
I don't know. I
is
don't care.
Occurring there?
I don't know. I don't care.
That's the thing. If you can't, I mean, can you not even like imagine what if okay?
It literally doesn't make a difference. It's irrelevant. It's just a waste of time gibberish.
I think it is relevant, though. I mean, that's kind of the.
What is it relevant to? Magical pixies. It's governed by magical pixies.
By magical pixies.
Yep. There you go. I've given you a mechanism now. And if it exists, then it's objective morality. It doesn't matter if it's magical pixies or leprechauns or a law of physics or a platonic object. It makes no difference. Literally irrelevant.
I think that you're not really. I don't know that there's.
Would it make a difference if it was magical pixies or a law of physics or unicorns? If this is a thing that exists in reality, would it make a difference what it's made of? Or how
Would it make a difference? I think that so. I could say no, it wouldn't make a difference, but then at the same point is I guess the point is, does it exist? I mean, that's the question. It's not the question isn't how does it exist? But
right. And so the evidence of how it exists is produced by novel testable predictions.
The question, how does it exist? I'm sorry, just 1 second. The question, and then I would like you to repeat what you said. But the question of how something exists is in some way, or what specifically mechanistically would change. What specifically mechanistically would change if it were itself to change? It gives you a point. It kind of helps you get to whether or not that thing even exists in the first place.
No, because if the answer, they don't even care. None of that. No one cares about that in physics. Well, how does a string work? Like, I don't know. What is a string? I don't know. What is a field? I don't know. That's nobody cares about that. All of that's irrelevant gibberish. Like we don't need to give any kinds of complicated answers like that of what the fundamental essence of those things are. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. All that matters is doesn't make novel testable predictions or are they right? That's it. That's all you need. You don't need all this complicated understanding of the ontology of the thing. Nobody cares about that.
Well, I care about that. So that's
That's
at least
nice.
someone. Yeah, so that's at least one person. So somebody cares about it. So there you go. Disproved your hypothesis there, I guess.
Sure.
But anyways, all right. Is anybody else raising their hand? Oh no, they're not. I was gonna say. Oh, okay. Sure, he wants to go up there. But yeah, I was just trying to say because I disagree with like how you would define, I guess, what morality specifically itself is.
Well,
Hello?
I don't define morality.
Hello?
Stop. So I
John.
find that I look at the patterns in reality, and morality is just referring to specific patterns in reality. That's all it is. What I think is causing those patterns is whatever the fundamental essence of morality is, whether it's evolution or a law of physics or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I would define it differently than that, but we can talk about that some other time, I guess.
All right, journal.
Hello. How's it going? How's your day going,
Potato.
Mr. TJump?
Potato.
Yeah, I just wanted to say you kind of contradicted yourself earlier when you were debating Snowy.
How did I contradict myself?
Just a second.
Okay. That was a strong contradiction there. Anybody else got any questions?
Would talking to Snowy and discussing the philosophical concept of existence preceding essence not have helped in that regard, to have him understand that critiquing the essence of something matters not to its existence?
Maybe.
I don't know. I've just never heard somebody try to rephrase something so many times and get it wrong over and over again.
Yeah. I am uncomfortably familiar with that happening.
That was all.
Right.
Unless you want to ask me a question. Ask me a question and I'll answer you, and then we'll go back and forth.
What is your bank routing number and social security number and money?
4.
1. Got it. Anybody else have any questions? TJump, what is the good question at a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Are chimps capable of moral evaluation? Yes, I think so. I think that the evidence in evolutionary biology shows that animals can have moral judgments. Capuchin monkeys do it a lot really well, and I think most apes do it as well. So yes. Alex Hins, what is your meaning of life? Hot blondes and world domination is my meaning of life.
The meaning of life is to find meaning. If that's hot blondes, okay. If it's redheads, well, I'm not going to judge.
All right. All right. If nobody's got any more questions, I'm probably going to close it out. Thanks, guys, for coming. Appreciate it. And talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Later.